managed to successfully talk down the werewolves from attacking everybody and everything, and to negotiate a little bit, shall we say? The upshot. It was interesting. There was a lot of fire. There were a lot of things toasted, and she managed to, I think, intimidate them into trying some alternative strategies. One of which was man-on-man combat with Vallaki, who decided that he could take down the current leader of the werewolves. In going up there and meeting all these people, you've come across a wooden marionette doll that appears to have become animated, who's called Antoinette, whose owner was a girl from the orphanage in Vallaki who ran away during the demon hauntings. So Vallaki has bested the leader of the werewolf pack. Everybody, Kirill, everybody seems to have stood down. The only slight problem with the whole of this is that both Quinny and Vallaki have been bitten at some point during the fight, and you were all here in this cave. So Ethidwe, you're not there at the moment. You'll get there pretty soon. Seven. So you can do that, or you'll. So you can upgrade to level 7 while we're doing that if you haven't already. What would you like to do? Rose, you're up here. You were following some of these female werewolves. That's what you'd been doing, who seem to have started to think better of their allegiance, I think. So what would you like to do? Where would you like to go? Yeah, so I think your microphone's very low as well.
I was just saying.
Yeah, so this is on full volume, so I think Rose's, let's see, how's that? Is that better, Rose? Can you just say something? Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Okay. So you know that the partner, the daughter of the leather worker in Vallaki should be in here somewhere. And you know that the previous, Emil, the previous werewolf pack leader, is probably somewhere up in the mountains on the at the Zelenska Pass, which is quite some distance away. So you know those things. You've not seen his partner yet while you've been here. You saw her briefly. The other female werewolves brought her out, and then she was sort of taken away again.
Okay. Could I approach? So I remember one of the females started kind of slinking off.
Yeah.
I'd like to approach her.
Yep. So you're up here with all of these. So that's with all of the female. This redhead here was the sort of partner of the guy that Vallaki's just killed. This one here was the partner of Lars, who was the one who was killed on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask them where the lady, the missing daughter, is? Like, try and intimidate them into telling us?
They seem to have generally backed down. They're much less hostile. All the wolves have stood down. There doesn't appear to be any immediate ongoing threat. They're not overtly friendly, but they're certainly not hostile. They go, Zuleika, she'll be uh, in the in the worship room. By the statue, by the statue of Mother Night.
Take me to her.
Okay. So they'll quite happily do that. So they take you literally just sort of across the corridor to this room where there's lots of cages around the outside of this room, and what looks like a huge statue of a sort of female wolf in the middle of the statue. And she's sort of kneeling before this statue, and she's crying.
I call out her name and slowly approach her.
As you call out her name, as you call out Zuleika, she turns and she looks at you, and you actually sort of recognise sort of similarity to her parents who work in the leather shop in town. You're pretty confident. You don't need to roll any kind of a check for that. You're pretty confident that this is who she is, and she's just got sort of tears down through sort of a mud-streaked face, and she's just sort of sobbing. And sort of wringing her hands in front of this statue.
I reach my hand out and offer to help her up.
Okay.
Reassure her that she's now safe.
Mm-hmm.
And come with me back to my friends.
Okay. She takes sort of one last look at the cages and comes away with you. She doesn't, again, she appears to be very meek and sad rather than in any way hostile. She just appears to be traumatized rather than anything else.
Yeah.
And you take them back over there. Okay. So you've got Zuleika, you've got the woman that you're looking for.
Yeah.
What does everybody want to do now?
What's the rest of the party want to do?
Okay, so Vash is up there. Antoinette is talking to Alina, who's this very young girl up here, and they seem to be they seem to have had some sort of sobbing reunion, and she's sort of holding this doll, and they're talking together. So that's them. That's the girl who dropped her in the snow as she fled. Vash, what are you doing?
At the moment, I'm just puzzling, watching that interaction.
Okay.
Trying to make sense of it. So there's no immediate threat.
There's no immediate threat here. So Zuleika says, "Thank you for coming to our aid." Kirill took over the leadership of the pack. He has taken Emil away and locked him away. Many followed him because to do so would have been to fight against him would have been suicide. Thank you for giving us back control of our pack. We thank you for that. And she looks over at Vallaki, where so Malachi's standing by the body of Kirill, and goes, "Oh, he's been bitten. Yes, that might not be good. It may be something he would need to consider. Lycanthropy is not for everybody. It's a difficult thing to fix. Why many of us live here and choose to live with it. We can
there
help
a way
him
of
find
removing
a
it
way.
before it takes hold?
Not easily, no. There are ways. There are ways. The Probably the thing you should do is have you come across the Worg who live around these parts?
Indeed, we have.
Okay. The Worg guard a a layer, a secret sort of, in the rock outside where they have made their home. They were they have guarded that area for many centuries. It's why they were so angry that Kirill dared to trespass into their home and into their territory. He might, if you can access that, it's like a panel in the floor, in the rock. If you could access that, then maybe that would hold some of the keys. It's said that they guard the very secrets of lycanthropy itself, and that wargs were set to guard those secrets from the mountain fae who bestowed lycanthropy as both blessing and curse in these parts many moons ago.
Bash will turn to Queenie.
Quinny's not there.
Quinny's not there.
Queenie Ball?
Quinny's not there. So you look around, you can't see Quinny.
Okay. Well, considering Kirill was a big problem to them, perhaps they will help us out just this once.
I think Gitrog, the leader of the Worg, if you would be so kind as to pass on our apologies for the pack that that Kirill is no more, and that myself and Bianca and she's she motions to this female werewolf and Devanka, we will lead the pack for now. We will tend our wounded, and there will be no more child captures or killings under our watch.
Getting a meal back be difficult.
I think getting a meal back will be challenging. We are vulnerable right now to further incursions. If at some point you have the opportunity to go seek him, I would be grateful. But right now my place is here with the pack. And again, she looks like she steeled herself for this job. It's what he would want. It's what he would expect of me right now.
Well, please hope you don't have to work for too long.
I hope not either. But if you could take down Kirill and free us, then if you are ever heading that way, I would be grateful if you would look for him. And if he has died, if you could return his bones here.
There is another matter. One of our friends appears to be missing. Perhaps Yator, horns, goat legs.
Well, I'm sorry, I've not seen your friend
And Bash will turn
at
to
all.
everybody else. Anyone?
That's delicious. Good dinner. One of the wolves just ignoring her.
So the wolves are generally just licking their wounds. Some of them are really very seriously injured. Malachi's looting the body of the one that he murdered. I'm going for that as a in keeping as.
He'll vaguely hear Bash behind him. It's very unsettling for a priest.
Nah. You guys were all up and around that corner, so Quinny was further south. You wouldn't have been able to see Quinny from where you're currently standing. She was further south around that time.
Ask for context.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
Who's Kirill? And who's that other guy?
So you know that Emil and Zuleika were married. Zuleika is the daughter of Skaran, who runs the leather workshop in town.
Mm-hmm.
They'd not been seen for ages.
Mm-hmm.
You went up to find what was going on. You found some colour-changing rabbits in a forest that were like chameleon rabbits. So when they bounced around, they changed colour. People talked about making boots out of them for some reason. They found that from the Worg that essentially Emil has been taken captive and is being held at the guardhouse at the Zelenska Pass, and that Kirill, this badass werewolf, had taken over leadership of the pack and has been capturing and killing / lycanthropizing. Is that a word? Children. And the Worgs were very angry about this. They'd lived at peace for a very long time, but killing and taking children was going to bring hunters, and hunters can't tell the difference between Worg and werewolf. They're just all big things that need to be killed. So they've gone in. Vallaki has taken out the murderously nasty leader, Kirill, and got bitten in the process. That's Kirill, who's dead in the middle. All the female werewolves are pretty chill, and have basically said that they're going to run the pack on more peaceful lines. And Emil is somewhere captured somewhere. You've not met him, you don't know where he is.
So basically, Kirill is not representative of everyone in the group.
No.
Okay.
Never was. He will through fear.
The top.
Indeed.
Okay.
And they are no. And so Zuleika, so the daughter of Skaran, is suggesting that you go to the Worg cave because they may have. Yep, Zuleika's the daughter of the guys in town, so that's who you were sent up to find.
And
you have found her. Yeah, and he's missing. But you were sent to find Zuleika, which you have successfully done in terms of collecting the reward that goes along with that.
And was that Emil that put out the reward for it?
No, it was her dad that put out the reward. He's offered you some armour, some leather armour, I do believe. Very nice leather armour. If you could find word of what's happened to his daughter, who's very worried about her. And what they are suggesting is that, so Vallaki has been bitten, and lycanthropy is a dangerous disease in Barovia, and that and Quinny appears to have vanished. Who knows? Quinny also got bitten, but appears to have vanished.
Do we know if Zuleika's dad knows if she's a werewolf?
Yes.
Yeah. He told you she was a werewolf.
Also a werewolf?
He's not, so he's
No.
been like meeting with her every, was it like 6
Spring,
months or
yeah,
something?
every spring.
Oh, yes.
I do remember this.
Yeah, way back when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she stopped coming, and he's very worried about what had happened. So he asked you if you were going up there, could you find out what had happened?
I think when I pictured this adventure, I
Yep.
kind of thought of Zuleika or the daughter as like a kid.
No, Zuleika's a young woman who got married to Emil, who was also a werewolf. So lycanthropy in Barovia is not always a bad thing. So not all werewolves are evil. So lycanthropy used to be, like the were-ravens, lycanthropy used to be bestowed as a gift by the Fays.
Alright.
Okay.
So there's a good chance Zuleika caught it from her husband.
Or deliberately chose to become a werewolf in the same way that people can deliberately choose to become a vampire.
Understood now.
No worries. Okay, so she's suggested that if you need more information about lycanthropy and all things lycanthrope, that the place to probably head would be the Worg Cave, because they have guarded the secrets of lycanthropy since the time before Strahd.
There's something you mentioned. There's something past earlier.
The Zelenska Pass.
Is that where we are now?
No, you're in the Baratok Mountains. The Zelenska Pass is way further up. Yeah,
And
it's a long way.
And what's in that pass?
So in the pass, it's a pass through the mountains that actually leads all the way to the Amber Temple, which is where David's character's gone to gain power / find his previous monk friend. It's a good 2 weeks plus travel through the
Do we
mountains.
think Emil is in this pass, or we don't know?
You don't know.
Alright.
But you opted to go and sort this out because that was a more immediate problem, because there were kids getting killed.
Okay. Right.
That's where you're up to.
Child murder.
So,
What's it like waiting for it?
No, I'm remembering an old vine.
are you
Worse than a murderer.
Child.
shipping up and heading back towards... You can get back to Vallaki past the Worg.
We're looking
Okay.
for Quinny first.
Okay,
Yeah, we can't leave without.
okay,
We're looking for Quinny
that's
first.
fine. So you go back to the front of the cave. Roll a survival check.
No, I'm not. I don't think it's 10 does it?
The snow is heavy.
Cool, okay.
The snow is heavy and falling fast. If there have been tracks here, then they have possibly already been covered. Does anybody else want to roll a survival check? Harleen, you
I
looking?
rolled a 3, so
Okay.
Just
So
to say-
so the,
tied, but
so you look and you can see where there was all the burning. You can see some bodies, but even then, the blizzard and the snow has already started to cover over the bodies that were lying in the mouth of the cave. It's difficult to work out where Quinny might have gone. There were no tracks within the cave, and you can't really see anything in the snow that would suggest a particular route where she might have gone.
well, that's mighty worrying.
I don't know why. She's only got a nasty crown that makes her head bleed and has been bitten by a werewolf. I mean, you know, nothing major.
She's carrying an evil book.
And the last
that
time
has
they
controlled
disappeared,
people's minds.
they were under the
Okay,
influence
that's
of
Okay,
vampires.
but-
So
True. True.
they kind of have a record for
And currently
disappearing.
has someone
for
on
every-
Give it a dash, so to speak.
Sorry.
And
Sorry, Rose. Go on.
Sorry.
They have a habit of disappearing for not the greatest reasons.
Valid. Indeed. So, I guess your options are to head back to Vallaki, or head back to you can go by. Zuleika points the way. You can go back to Vallaki past the Worg cave if you wanted to do that.
I think the Worg cave seems the obvious place to.
dies when dragging
It's-
Vallaki with us.
Yeah, Malachi's not found anything particularly useful. He's found some really tatty leather armor, because the leader of the werewolves was super arrogant and didn't think he needed significant armoring. Fine. So
Food, not where I-
so you go down the path, and you're heading back down the mountain. So you're down here. So you're heading back down the mountain towards the towards Vallaki, and you're going back into the forest. And as you go down here, again, roll a survival check.
Apparently Malachi was actually here.
Yeah.
With high vision could actually do something.
All right. I will roll Malachi's survival check then. To be fair, that's not bad.
I don't see none.
He probably wouldn't be interested, but it's actually not bad. So Malachi rolls an 18 on the dice. So
They
he's
also rolled an 18.
okay. So Harleen sees it too. You see what appear to be feline prints in the snow. So very definitely not wolf, werewolf, warg. Very definitely feline, and that strikes you as being really out of keeping in terms of anything else that's going on up here. The other thing you see is on top of this coming down from this rock in the center is Etherdwy with Unwin and Martikov and Muriel Vinshaw in were-raven form, who have found you causing trouble in the bar and leading Brom and Bray astray on many heists, and have decided that it would be better if you came and joined your friends.
They just left me in the snow.
No, they've not left you. They have waited, but they have come up. They have come up to basically speak with Gitrog, the leader of the Worg, as to whether or not he knows everything that goes on in this area of the mountains, whether or not your friends have been seen coming up this way. So you can see Etherdwe coming down this rock with two were-ravens at the same time.
Must have actually been a very naughty boy. Etherdwe, what have you done?
So so Etherdwe's been particularly troublemaking. Brom and Bray have got into trouble. They've been practicing their thieving skills by taking wine out of the cellar and then drinking it in the way that Harleen taught them in their bedroom, and have been found drunk by their mother on 2 consecutive occasions now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You taught him to steal it. She taught him to drink it.
Yeah, no, so so far, don't you worry about it. Etherdwe's got the full rap for that. And as you find your friends, the were-ravens fly off, and Unwin shouts down, "Behave around my boys, boy," and then flies back into town.
Bye.
So you've joined them.
Have you been leading little ones astray again?
They lead themselves astray. We equip them with the skills they need.
I like
That's one way of looking at it.
Bash will actually look down at everybody and go, "Are you sure you're only 10?
So as you're looking up here, you can see sort of on the other side of right up at the top of this map, you can see this odd red sort of glow, and you can hear rather than see. You can hear sort of wolves howling up there. Are you heading in that general direction?
Is that where
That's
the wolves speak?
it's where you can hear them. So, as a guess, probably.
Bash would reluctantly go that way, but try to stay at the front.
Okay.
Harleen would probably start kind of following the tracks and heading up.
Yeah.
Are fairly similar, I assume.
So, as you're walking up, you can see with your 18, you can see there's panther tracks coming around this bottom edge of the rock. These sort of odd, out of place, feline sort of footprints. Let's move you around. And you can see them very much much clearer, and you can hear this sort of movement in the forest and the bushes off sort of slightly over towards the east, and you can see a figure coming out of the forest there.
Harleen would immediately grab her hammer and just keep like a protective stance.
Expecting trouble, are we?
From where you are, you can also see a figure starting to come from the woods just over here.
Bash should
There's
hold his
someone
hands
right
up
ahead.
to show that he's no threat,
Mm-hmm.
not realising he's just about ready to fire eldritch bolts.
Okay. What do they see?
See, very tall, very kind of thin and lean, kind of dark green coat, like lots of pockets, big fur on the top, and fur bulk, so big, like dark grey skin, kind of really curly beard and hair that used to be red but started to grey, and a big blindfold over their face. And what you can see of their hands and the top of their head and their mouth just covered in these arcane tattoos. As a hawk kind of flies from over their shoulders and kind of lands nearby and starts looking over all of you.
You okay there, bro?
And they're holding a big quarterstaff in one hand. Hello, yes? No, I'm good, What are you doing this far out in the wilderness?
We're on our way to speak to the wolves, actually.
Oh, good. Unfortunate, I'm heading that way myself.
The
Business with the wolves?
Indeed, yes, they've been kidnapping children. I've been sent aside to deal with them.
No, that unfortunately was the local werewolf pack.
Reasons.
They were being led astray by their former leader. Leadership has changed.
Oh, so all good then.
They won't be taking children.
Very good.
what you immediately notice is you recognise the staff that that this Furbolg is walking along with.
How do I recognize?
Do we recognize it as Quinny's staff?
You do recognise it as Quinny's staff.
At this point, Vash's hands won't be up. They'll be more in a ready to attack position. Where did you get that staff?
Sorry, Harleen. Yeah, and Harleen?
Exactly the same as what that.
Wielding your hammer in an aggressive manner.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And calling out, where did you get that staff?
I found it. Just
We happen to know its owner.
That'd be the strange. Yes, I thought it odd to find it in the middle of nowhere. It came with this rather lovely deep pack. You see the bird how lands on their shoulder and looks into the backpack as they're doing it. There's a great big green glowing gem. Is that a name?
It was. You know that as the Green Phager. Yeah.
There was also this, which you have a head. I don't need that, but this is quite a good stick. It rather helps me getting through the cold.
Now, why on earth would Quinny abandon their belongings?
Why on earth would Quinny abandon the party?
But both are very good questions.
Can you, excuse me, sir?
Yes.
Sir, whatever.
I mean,
I'm Goddo.
Godo?
Goddo.
Godo? Godo, can you tell us exactly where it is you found it?
Just here, near the end of the tracks.
Can we see if there's any goat tracks or anything?
Yeah, you could roll. You can roll survival, or you can roll investigation if
I'll take
you're
investigation.
okay.
16.
Okay. With a 16 and with Harleen and Vallaki pointing out these sort of feline tracks, you see these feline tracks go in towards the trees where you've just seen Goddo arise, and then right in this clearing between two trees, stop. They just stop. They don't. There's no. They don't fade. They don't seem to disappear. You can see them really clearly.
They just stop.
Yeah, there's shade from the trees, so the drifting snow is less heavy here.
I will take another look with Eldritch Sight.
Okay.
See if there's any residual magic.
You see the same very odd shifting oddness that you saw when you were on watch the other night. This sort of almost phasing in and out of, so you'll see a tree and then it will look like it's just moved a little and then move back. So it's almost like the whole thing is just moving and shifting in and out. And what you think you see is that you see the tracks and then you see them maybe slightly further forward and then back to where they were. And then maybe slightly further forward and then back to where they are. Just sort of shifting.
Seeing this, could I feasibly assume that somehow Quinny's gotten back into the fable? Would that be a reasonable assumption?
Roll it just straight intelligence.
15.
So from what you understand about Barovia, that shouldn't be possible.
But my parents escaping shouldn't have been possible either.
But there's lots of things that shouldn't have been possible.
But
And this forest is bloody odd. And Quinny definitely said it felt fey. And that the fey is the fey. So it's possible.
I'll turn to Harleen and go, it's entirely possible that Quinn's gone home.
Well, good for them if they have, but would have been nice to know.
It would have, but at least they had the decency to leave the important things behind for us.
That is true.
Perhaps we'll see them again soon.
Harleen kind of looks around the forest and just gives kind of a shudder and just this place still unsettles me. And can we just keep moving?
And as you say that, you watch on the other side of those tracks a little bunny rabbit. Just suddenly, you just see its eyes as it bounces out from past a tree trunk and has sort of a mottled brown and snowy appearance into being just white.
Can I take a shot?
I think we know that one.
That'll be an 18.
It's
Wonderful. You see Gunno from kind of just these big sleeves of the jacket just flicks and a hand crossbow comes out and hits them. As a run over, chuck it in, pack very quickly.
as he does that, as he picks the rabbit up, as the rabbit comes past his skin, the rabbit goes this sort of odd shade of pink and then turns into a bag-coloured rabbit as it goes into the bag.
Very handy later.
First of all, I think we know that.
Oh!
And secondly, that was an impressive shot.
Thank you. I have decent practice.
What are you shooting with?
A little crossbow, but a very small hand crossbow. Kind of hide in the sleeve and then pull out when you need to.
That's quite a neat little trick.
Oh, thank you, one of my little contraptions.
And Harleen, I know what you mean about this place, and she'll clearly see that I'm using my Eldritch Sight. Try seeing it with these eyes.
Yes, it is not a great sight.
How long have you been waiting here?
I was travelling through, trying to find some sights of the wolves and that around, but they're proving harder to find than usual.
We found them quite easily.
So-
Misfortunes for different people, it seems, in these parts.
So
I think
up the-
more that they wanted us.
That doesn't make a difference.
So there appears to be some here as well. So as you are rounding the sort of the rock where Etherdwe was, you can see up above, sort of through the trees and through the forest, you can see this weird, almost sort of smoky red light coming from what looks like a ledge or a plateau, and you can see sort of silhouetted up there the huge figure of Gitrog the Worg.
Well, I guess we have some news to deliver. I'll start walking.
Okay. So you're all heading up towards Gitrog.
We'll catch up with you later, and you see Godot takes just a step into the bush and fully vanishes.
What an odd fellow.
So you pick your way up this sort of mountainside, up through the trees, up, and as you go up there, you see that there's a sort of path that winds its way up there. I'm going to move you up there so that I don't have to do it later.
I'm just following behind.
Yeah,
you.
no, I know. I figured.
Oh, so you're just being stealthy.
Look, if I don't need to interact with the wolves, I'm gonna not.
I mean, fair.
So you get
Someone
up,
who has to interact with the wolves.
and when you get up to the top, you can see sort of Gitrog standing there, very proud, watching you approach. He clearly doesn't see you as a threat. There are several other wolves and dire wolves standing sort of sentry standing around.
To be clear, Vash is walking in like he doesn't perceive them as a threat.
Yeah, and they watched you.
Walking like I'm the place.
Yeah, and they watched you sort of help when they were attacking Lars. They know that you were going in to try and liberate the werewolf pack, so they are awaiting your arrival and awaiting news. And Gitro goes, "You are back. I hope you come with good tidings."
Indeed I do, but some slightly not so good tidings for us, particularly. I'll get to that in a moment. Kirill has
Yes.
been deposed. He will no longer pose a threat.
That is excellent news.
Leadership of the pack is now back in more, how can I put this delicately, stable hands.
That is good. I have sent Worg up into the mountains to seek news of Emil. If they can free him, they will do so. But
The leadership is being held for his return.
that is good news. What is the trouble of which you speak?
It appears one of my friends here has been bitten. Would you happen to know a way to remove his affliction?
He has been bitten by a werewolf.
By Kirill himself, actually.
Oh,
It was the only way he could issue a challenge for leadership.
did Zuleika tell you about the information and that we store and the information that we...
We were given vague hints at that, yes.
And he looks down and as he...
We do not ask for the information, only if you can help my friend.
Well, the information would be what can help your friend. The puzzle lies beneath your feet. And he steps to the side. And where you can see this red light, clear some space. I'll put it up for you in 1 second, Rose. You clear some space.
Okay.
You've got an actual puzzle.
Ooh. Oh.
I will see how to find things.
Oh yeah, there's an actual puzzle.
Okay.
Here we go. I'll put the puzzle up for you, Rose. Hold on.
So the other background thing we were in the conversation suddenly they're gone.
Yeah.
The exact reverse of that.
Let me put this... Right, hold on. Okay, so... On the ground... There you go. Can you see that? Let me see. No, hold on. Let me just change my screen. Hold on. Let me just change which one I'm sharing. Hold on. That one probably. Okay, can you see that? Hold on. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So on the ground, in the stone. There you go. On the ground, these are fixed. There is a grid carved into the stone on the floor. And the red crosses are like small discs of stone that are fixed onto the grid. And next to the grid is a pile of stones.
I know this may be somewhat of a silly question.
Yeah.
But how does a puzzle help with lycanthropy?
We have guarded the secrets of the mountain fame for generations untold. They gifted lycanthropy to the peoples of the forest, but gave the guardianship to the natural lupine species that live here, ourselves and the direwolves. Beneath this rock where we have made our home lies the secrets that the mountain fame trust us to take care of. none as yet have managed to move the panel. We think that solving this, should the rocks be put into the right place, would allow whatever secret is beneath to be exposed.
So this is a test of intelligence and worth.
It is a test of intelligence and worth indeed. None of us have yet managed to achieve it. Maybe that is why she put us in our people in charge of guarding it, as that we would not solve it.
Vash will look over his reappeared.
So they've got a hard copy of this on the table, Rose. That's what the conversation is at. So they've actually got a physical copy of this puzzle, but the puzzle that they've got looks like that.
I do have your
and I think there
intelligent type.
are there 16?
I counted 12 tiles.
Yeah, 12. So there's 12 tiles unplaced. There's like a stack of 12 rocks in a little depression next to the puzzle. Is there like a little thing with 12 rocks? You're trying to find how to manage lycanthropy, which is underneath here apparently.
Which I wasn't clear. Do you have magical tools?
Oh yes. I'm studying certain methods.
Chris has got notes at Rose.
Oh no.
I think numbers here refer to the gap between two tiles.
Out of character, that is established.
Oh, I know. I'm just being difficult.
Perfectly vague on purpose. I guess. Just making sure.
Would be because there's the 6 there, 1 there, 1 there.
I'm assuming the numbers on the sides correlate to numbers of tiles in that line.
I don't not number of tiles, but I've got 2. I think it's the gaps between the tiles.
So is this like a stone in the cave or
There's
something?
6 there.
So you are on the sorry Rose, just 1 second. So you are here outside. So Quinny's vanished. Quinny's vanished. They have tracked the footprints of some kind of feline entity into the forest, and then they stopped. Just stopped dead, like a line, just stopped. And coming out of the forest with a staff that looks a hell of a lot like Quinny's was this
Hello, I'm
Goddo, who
tall, furball, like big camouflage.
They look very cowboy.
No armor at all.
just shot a colour changing rabbit.
We saw the same as what class. Who were the hand crossbow?
Quinny's vanished. The assumption is that Quinny has potentially made it out to the Feywild.
So if I'm right about how records work, which is the numbers of the gaps between the rocks, then the one we would know is that there needs to be 1, 2, 3 there. Don't know if I put something there.
If you do the brainy type, you give it a try.
Goddo puts a rock there. Does anything happen?
Right. Rose, I'll put in. So nothing. So you put 1 here.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll put them in for you, Rose, so you can see what they're coming up with. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll put it in as an A rather than an X, just so that you can see. So Quinny's put 1 there. Oh, not Quinny. Sorry, Goddo's put 1 there.
I think it's 3, so I think it's the gap between. So
Yes,
I think
one,
that would be
3.
there.
There's 4.
So if you look at the 1, it's 1 tile between it. If you look at this 4, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles between it. And then put
That's 3.
that's
Oh, that's
that's
very
1, 2. But that's already got the 1, so I think it's down here.
That's already got
With
the 1.
1, 2.
It's already got the 1 gap.
Yeah, so there's 1 already in there. We've got a 1 space accounted for here. I reckon that's south of it.
So what Goddo's saying is, Rose, that they think that the numbers correspond to the gap between the tiles.
Yeah.
So the top row has already got 1 gap, so it shouldn't have any more tiles on it. And the numbers at the bottom also correspond with spaces between tiles.
Can Malachi pray for a bloke?
Yes. Go for it.
You want me to roll for something?
Religion.
14.
Yes. You pray. So Malachi prays.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
4.
Malachi's praying.
So
No, because that's 1.
there's one which means that it's either here or it's here. It could be either.
It wouldn't be here because that's
So it's
Precisely.
It's
So
gotta be
yeah, so it's going to be there.
When there's a
There
3
we go.
there.
Which can't be
So they're
here,
doing
so
pretty
it's
well,
going to be
Rose.
there.
I've lost track
Which would
in
be
terms of they're putting lots of things on the board.
Here.
Yeah.
I'm unclear whether or not they've got anything right, but they have put lots of things on the board.
And
Malachi's
then
praying.
I got 22. Which is
On 22 on praying, you recognise that
Yes, yes, you've got this
Goddos.
four,
There's a 1 here.
Goddo's on the right.
One
on the right.
That this is the
One
way
have
to do it.
have to be there.
One
which
has
means
to
it's
be
also
there.
at
Which means the 4 has to be 2.
4, which means it's there.
and that's separated by 1.
And then that's the one
So as you
that's
put the
there.
last,
That's right.
as you put the last brick into place, the whole of that stone shifts in place and drops.
So between the road,
Nicely
the
done.
warlock
Yeah.
garden,
What levels
And the
is
Morning Lord.
well, I figured there were some levels of wizard in there.
The Morning Lord.
And
Morning Lord.
What did the
And
Morning Lord have to do with that?
between the 3 of us, we managed to pull it off. Thief who's good at locks. Vampire who's just good at
So
stuff.
there's a couple of things that you find inside. Sorry, let me put Rose back on because it's so there's a couple of things. So you find a piece of paper with this sort of written on. There you go.
I don't know how to do it.
So
Kazan, obviously, Goddo doesn't know what that means. Does that mean anything to anyone else? I'm sure we've heard Kazan somewhere before.
Kazan's a province of Russia, but spelled differently.
Interesting. Is Kazan one of the Fae? No? Okay.
I'd need to have a look at which books you got from.
Without good reason.
And then there's a sketched drawing.
That crossroads we were at ages ago. There was like a headless horseman and some zombies.
There's a sketched map, and on the map is marked a hill, a circle of stones,
So the mountain flame.
and a huge tree.
That's where the second flame is.
Well, that's where the Gold Forest tree was, and there's the crossroads we were at.
Pardon?
Is that the crossroads we were at in like session 3 or something? There was a headless horseman, there was some zombies.
That wasn't Kazan.
Okay, cool.
So you're right. So you recognise this hill with these sort of almost tiered rises, like a burial mound, with some rocks at the top and this huge tree at the top. And the last time you were up there, there was also an enormous wicker man that is not in this particular picture. So you would think that that's likely to be the site of the mountain Fane. You are pretty confident that, Queenie was very confident that the forest Fane was underneath the stone circle at the windmill. Kazan, roll history.
I'm going to hook check whatever wants
I'll take them.
on. Unless there's some means we've got it to those.
What's it? Self give me advantage.
Yeah.
Oh, that's much better.
I don't know if
It's a
that is
24. I went from a 7 to a 24.
I get a 17.
Okay, so
The Morning Lord's definitely with this guy.
okay.
History's not
So what you would
Bye, girl.
with a 17 on history, you recognise where you've seen the name before, and you have seen the name in one of the books that you took from that you borrowed from Vasily von Holtz, and it was a book about ancient times in Barovia and the history of Barovia, and Kazan was a wizard of some renown who resided in a tower, and as wizards tend to do. And that's where you've, and obviously hasn't been, seen for centuries and centuries and centuries. Old ages ago, wizard. But that's what you would remember about Kazan as a name. It's a wizard from the early history of Barovia.
Why is there a piece of paper with the name of an ancient wizard?
Does that look like a signed thing? Like they've signed Kazan up in that code? Or is it like attributing a quote? Or
It's not roll intelligence.
I'll look up at our Worg. So, how does this help me cure my friend?
Dirty 20.
Okay, so on a dirty 20, you don't think it's signed Kazan. You think that there is a reference to Kazan in the context of the Fane. With underneath this sort of piece of parchment is another sheaf of papers.
I will
Okay.
flipping through and see if I can find
So
it.
yeah, Hawk that travels with Dotto gently lands on the shoulder and is reading along with you.
I'm assuming the bird's your eyes.
Yes. A little bit it's not what I said.
So as you're reading, it's a sort of treatise on lycanthropy, written by somebody called Laura Stoneheart, and it details the benefits and the sort of gifting of lycanthropy. And it also talks about that it can be both a blessing and a curse. And then it talks about various methods of removing lycanthropy from those not willing to take on that
So do any of them
burden.
look particularly achievable?
So there is the easy stuff. So greater restoration. Yeah.
So that's a little bit beyond our ken, yes.
So greater restoration can
I don't
work.
even think the other
That
dude can do that.
the still beating heart of the werewolf that inflicted the bite,
Still beating
yeah,
as in
still beating.
continually beating, or still beating
as in not yet dead.
No, yeah,
I
no.
mean, we can fix that.
I mean, we can bring him back to life.
It costs a
Would a zombie have a beating heart? If he was dead?
Maybe.
What if I hook up a blood pump with some bellows? Like, is beating literal or is beating alive?
Well, you'd find out once you tried that whether or not beating was literal or beating was alive.
So we know you're partially wizard. I don't think you're an artificer.
So there's
You
this
are.
complex sort of recipe about boiling the blood that's been drained from the heart, and then boiling it under the light of a new moon and things like that. There's a chapter about belladonna and the use of belladonna. You would know, Ethelwee, about belladonna in that it's very poisonous. That it's very poisonous. You have looked. She also worked in the Faded Cherry. That is true. But you keep your. You would love to come across them because it makes amazingly dangerous poisons. And you've not managed to find any. There are great cautions about using belladonna treatment in that sort of 50% of people don't survive the treatment. So it cures the lycanthropy
One way or another.
one way or the other. And then so there's some detailing about what a belladonna treatment might involve and how to do that.
I'm skimming over the belladonna treatment because I don't see it as a feasible response.
And then there's a big section on the taming of lycanthropy and how to go about taming a lycanthrope.
I'd be pretty much reading this directly.
Okay, so that suggests that in order to gain control, you would need to be chained with silvered manacles on the night of a full moon in the werewolf den. That a blood sacrifice of some creature, it's very vague as to what level of creature that might need to be, is poured into a bowl, and it is undertaken in front of the statue, the werewolf Mother Night statue in the werewolf den. So it would be considered a religious ceremony to Mother Night. Just for the details of how you feel about that.
Your choice is basically to pray to a werewolf god while bathing in a creature's blood in werewolf form.
Yeah.
Being poisoned by belladonna.
Essentially,
spell greater restoration, or we need the still beating kind of cure.
it's suggested that you can fail to tame yourself or become tamed, and that the level of challenge would be affected by the magnitude of the sacrifice. Bigger
meanie, easier it is to control yourself.
If you need to find something unpleasant to sacrifice, I could be of some help.
You're offering yourself.
No.
Are you good at tracking beasts?
Tracking, I'm average at, but I'm a monster hunter by trade. Particularly skilled in slaying.
So these methods all both cure or control.
So there are Greater Restoration,
Yeah.
Belladonna, blood from the guy that bit you,
Yeah.
with some completed cooking ritual under a moon, will cure your lycanthropy.
Mhm.
Or you can attempt to tame and gain control of your lycanthropy, which involves some kind of a blood sacrifice ritual to a god that you may or may not believe in.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and think that if you're making a blood sacrifice to a god, you kind of have to believe in it. So I think that might not be quite possible for you to do.
Yeah,
Not unless you're planning on changing religions, my friend.
you could also argue that you could do it and see how well your god tolerated,
Blasphemy?
that kind of thing.
God, you keep it. They're an understanding sort to trying different faiths, I assume.
There is a chapter in this treatise about both the benefits and the curse of lycanthropy.
I would be reading these now.
Read all this to Malachi.
I shall not worship false idols.
So you start to gain strength over the days after you've been bitten. You start to gain physical strength and muscle. You may notice some slight pain, blackening of the skin, things like that when that happens. But it happens. You feel much more empowered to resist certain kinds of mundane damage. So it would suggest that silver would be useful should you become out of control. Okay. So mechanically you become resistant to non-magical, non-silvered. Yeah.
Nice. That's huge.
However, if you take damage from silvered weapons, you need that heals slowly over 24 hours. So it's not healed by hit dice, it's not healed by an immediate rest or by magic. It needs to be healed by time. Okay, so if you take silvered damage, then that's a 24-hour gradually regaining your hit points as opposed to taking a healing potion mechanically.
Yeah.
You get advantage on smell and hearing, 60 feet of dark vision, and you can track and you can recognise wolves versus werewolves versus walk by scent.
Basically becoming a blood.
Yeah. On negative side,
So I've listed all the positives with a big smile on my face.
In the
These are
quid-
all very good positives.
in the quid pro quo section
And,
of the
and
treatise,
here we have the negatives.
there's a loss of control with any moon.
At night you're going to become vastly unpleasant.
And that in a full moon you are entirely uncontrollable. However, you are also not able to gain the benefits of a long rest at night, because werewolves are nocturnal creatures and rest during the day. So you become successively exhausted if you are unable to sleep during the day because of your nocturnal activities.
And that's an 8-hour rest.
And Vash will look at that and go, well, that suits me.
Yeah, doesn't suit me.
What I think is we all become werewolves and become
Basically, I'll stop. But my god's called the Morning Lord. All about the sun
some
and daytime.
sacrifices have to be made.
So you start sleeping in the afternoon.
So the only time that you do not immediately start to lose control as a werewolf is on a new moon, and the only way to bind a werewolf without it being a trouble to yourselves or anybody else would be silvered manacles, of which there is a set at the bottom of this.
So if you ever want to sleep at night again, we're going to need to. Yeah, I was going to do that myself, but based on those,
Just struggling against it.
we kind of need to cue
It
it.
seemed fairly secure.
Where can we find some belladonna? I think that's the only option here.
Can I do a nature check to see if I know where to find them?
Yeah, and Chris could do it with advantage because
You know your
Chris knows his poison.
That is a crit for a 28.
So getting bitten was probably not the
So
smartest
it's a
idea.
nature check with advantage, was it?
Yep.
I mean, if you want something to bite you, I'm quite happy to indulge.
It was. I consider it a self-sacrifice.
14.
I'm not going to.
So
And it saves children.
you-
It costs my life. It was worth it.
You don't know where you would find belladonna, but if you find belladonna, you absolutely know what to do with it. So
Whereas I have no idea what to do with it.
whereas you have no idea what to do with it, but you absolutely know that you would usually find belladonna in waterlogged, sort of swampy type areas, rather than up here in the freezing cold snowy mountains. So you would be saying, we need to find some kind of a swamp, a bog, that kind of thing. You would also know where there is one.
I was going to say, I got some wandering around a bit.
Yeah.
After the little biting conversation we just had.
So have we released their prisoners? And
Yeah,
stuff?
we've done all that stuff.
Yeah.
After the biting conversation Vash and Vallaki just had,
Told them no more captain.
you see Vash a little visibly disappointed. He hasn't had human blood in a while. It's been a long time.
My blood's not quite human anymore. Anyway. Probably gonna have a bit of face.
That's a good question. I don't know what you would taste like.
I prefer Willingdon.
So the warg come over and go, I trust you have found what you seek. You are clearly worthy of the information.
Thank you. We have found it. Yeah, we found what we wanted.
Okay. Is there anything before we reseal?
So a
that
walk
you would
one
like
of those
to-
sort of type things as well.
Leave here.
I
This
will-
area has been kept safe for many, many centuries. Is
Turn to
there?
the walls and
How
say,
about that lovely green gem I found? We should leave that someplace. Yes, I found this lovely walking stick. It's very good. You can see it's got a lot of flexibility. It's slightly magical. It's very nice. And also this green rock I gave someone else earlier.
the head
I'd
comes
like,
along.
maybe I'll take that if you don't want it.
Why?
The stick, no, it's
Queenie
No,
seems
the
to have.
the gem I gave it to
Left.
someone else. I think.
Okay.
Who did you give it to?
I have that item at the moment.
Oh.
Vaguely spooky one.
So, I hope you don't mind, but we'd like to borrow these silver manacles just for the time being.
Yeah, probably.
just to keep our
So we
friend
can-
in
That
check.
would
temporarily.
seem very sensible from what you have told me.
Well,
Yes.
I've gleaned all the information I require off the page, so they can remain. And I think the map was pretty self-explanatory. I know where that was pointing me towards. So everything else can go back.
Okay.
I'm
I'd
not
love
interested
to
in
if they
taking
let me copy down some information on that treatise.
That's fine. You can do that.
I would never take something that belongs to you. And when we no longer require the manacles, who will bring them back? Or have them brought back to you? Can you find an agent?
We have been told from generation to generation that one day people would come who could open rock, and that we were to help them.
Good thing
There's
we went
nothing
there.
else in here, just the treatise, the map, and the manacles.
Let's,
Don't any spare belladonna hanging around.
No spare belladonna. Belladonna, swampy.
Swampy.
They don't know what belladonna is.
Yeah.
They're not interested. They're not werewolves.
well, we do have an expert poison, so perhaps between, a little bit of, unfortunately, I have to say, a little bit of experimentation and a poison expert will not just be able to do this. I don't imagine it's going to be very pleasant. I'm sure you'll be praying at some point.
Okay. Are you leaving anything else?
Do you want to leave the green gem here, Rob? I didn't think Goddo would know to say that, but you hear suddenly Quinny shouting at you from across the plains, "Leave the fucking rock behind!"
What, the one that Strahd wants?
Yeah, the one that, someone is willing to...
So you would know that. So you weren't there when they had that conversation, but Strahd basically said to Quinny, you know something, if you could, find me these gems of great power, and, that would be great, and I could, probably, get us all out of here.
If I should
So...
correlate a few things in his head. I know this might be a very odd question. How do you feel about Strahd?
All of the wolves on here, all their hackles go up, and there's this low
and a
growl.
broad grin will spread across Vasher's face, showing his canines. I'm glad we agree on something.
We protect the old ways before this land was destroyed by the Devil Strahd.
Very good. Well, if I was to leave, say, something that Strahd wanted in your little rock prison here, you would make sure Strahd did not take it from you, wouldn't you?
Strahd is not welcome here.
That is all I need.
Wouldn't you just kill them all and take it anyway?
You want to take on a full army of wolves by yourself?
Oh, I'm not.
I think also it's a thing of, if you hide it away somewhere, these wolves don't exactly chat about what's here, presumably, so it's more of, no one will know it's here rather than...
It'll only us that knows it.
And if,
And I'll pull the gem out of my bag. This is a particular interest to Strahd. You would see that he doesn't acquire it, yes?
Have you still got your Eldritch sight on?
Yes, absolutely.
So this
I'd be keeping
whole... Yeah, I thought you probably would. This whole whole glows in... probably be abjuration. It's protective. It's protected in some way. You think there's a relatively good reason that Strahd hasn't been up here hunting whatever it is that the Mountain Fae left to be found. And that given that you know that Strahd is hunting gems and all of that sort of information, if Strahd knew this was here, then absolutely there would be a reasonable assumption he'd be at least trying to seek the information that was in it. So you think that this is protected from his sight in some way?
Then
There are very few places like that.
for the use of the manacles, I will offer this as collateral, so you know I'm coming back.
If it fits in the hole, you can put it in the hole.
I don't think they're too stressed about the manacles.
No,
So
they
the
really...
manacles wouldn't be a ridiculously rare item. They
They have been told to protect this area. They've built their home here. This is where their den is, to protect this until somebody came who could open it. That's what they were told to do. That's what their fathers were told to do, and their mothers and their grandmothers and their grandfathers, as far back as they can remember. They haven't got a huge amount of interest in the history of Barovia other than they were told to look after this rock. And that's what they've done.
I will place the gem in the opening.
And the rock comes up, and as the rock comes up and spins, you see all the runes along the sides sort of spin, and there's a completely different, the grid remains the same, but all the numerical symbols have gone, and there's now a whole collection of different patterns and a giant pile of scattered tokens.
I'm guessing the puzzle's going to be more difficult next time.
Good.
That's good. Secure locking mechanism. I wonder if we could learn how to make it.
So it's heading into sort of late afternoon, sort of early evening. I'm assuming you're heading back into Vallaki. You could probably make it to Vallaki before night. If you went, you know where you're going. The Worgs show you. Say we will walk with you to the outskirts of the forest. We will show you the way through the woods. It will take some time if you do not have to follow the paths, and basically escort you back into the edge of Vallaki. Coming back, as is always the way, was much faster than going up there in the first place. That took sort of almost 48 hours. It's almost like you've done a big loop and ended up almost on the edge of the forest. It doesn't in itself make geographical sense. You're trying to sort of figure out how you could have come up this way and it took you 2 days, and you go back and it just takes a number of hours. And it doesn't in itself. It doesn't track. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense. No, it's just some direwolves. Githrog stays pacing on the rock.
I think next time I come here, I'm going to ask you how this forest works.
It doesn't. I've been taking detailed notes. You see, got it turns around a little working paper, and it's a bunch of tracks. It's just a complete mess. Doesn't work.
So, as you head into back into the Blue Water Inn, it's very similar to where it's been before. It's quite busy. The mood seems very light and jovial. The fire's lit and roaring. It's warm and welcoming. Unwin
What's the reaction after we walking back in the door?
Unwin's back behind the bar with Danica, his wife. As Etherdwy walks in, she gives you, I think, not the warmest of looks. I think would be a fair description. She just sort of watching you, and you sort of get this sort of double table down the end, and they're like, "Oh, we'll bring you some wine," and you sit down. There's a couple of people in the bar. So drinking at the far end of the bar is Extrasny, head of the guard. There's two. So Isaac Strasny is at the end of the table drinking. You see sitting over here, Rictavio, slayer of the Beholder of legend, and master of the circus that has been in town for a while. You see these two gents down here who are just seem to be normal, after a day's work in the fields, villagers, and then it's strongly suspicious. And then up at the top, there's two men in sort of thick, heavy furs with a bow and a sword sort of propped up against the wall. And you would guess that they're hunters of some kind who just sat quietly drinking in the corner. And as you're sitting there and Danica brings you some food, Izexstrasny wanders over. Goes, good to see you back, sister. Good to see you back.
Harley would kind of just lift her ale up and just kind of nod and say, "'Tis good to be back."
There have been challenges since you were last here. What with the change in leadership, there's been a murder for the first time in a long time. Out at the stockyard.
Marlene would kind of sit up a bit straighter and kind of be more intrigued in what he's saying once she heard the word murder.
And he sort of pulls up a chair and he swirls back. He's like, old Gunther who runs the stockyard on the outskirts of town where all the horses are stabled. Wear him over there as the circus wagon. Gunther's wife, Yelena, murdered. Seen running. Some Vistani. Seen running away from the stockyard. And I chased after them and I almost tripped over her body. Just lying there. I've caught the guy, I think. Well, I've caught a guy. Their son. Well, somebody's got to pay for it. We need to at least make a good show of still having some control. We can't have murderers running around on the loose. I think it's their son, Toad.
Surely the sins of the father are not to be paid by the son.
Has the boy been interrogated?
Well, he's denying all knowledge as you would.
Well,
so he's in the stocks. We had to rebuild one.
Into mines. I could find out for you.
We had to rebuild the stock, so
What evidence do you have against the boy?
he was there, right place, right time.
And what expected to turn tomorrow?
Or is it wrong place, wrong
maybe.
time?
Okay, I should probably
As Malachi gets up,
Sorry,
I'll hand it for Malachi.
sorry. Malachi's having a slight panic attack about his werewolfness.
I'll come up to you quiet.
Jesus, don't announce to everyone in the town.
I'm putting these gloves on you to
No.
stop you changing into a blood
No,
sucking
I
monster.
will get them discreetly and then follow you to your room. Discreetly.
Is the stockyardman okay, or is it just you quiet?
Gunther is absolutely fine. He clearly distressed, obviously, about Yelena. But they've run the stockyard for many years. Lots of folk around town rent space there for their storage and their wagons and their horses and the like.
If I might be so bold, I have a great skill at finding the truth out of people. I could resolve this matter quite simply.
I'll be back down with I have a talent for prying into people's minds.
Well,
I have a talent for prying into people's wallets.
We're well aware.
so
It's a useful talent.
That was my inside voice.
you'll find. Sorry, go on, Holly.
Harley would turn to Isaac and kind of go, well, I don't see fair for the boy to be in the stocks without any evidence. Would you release him for us to question?
I will leave him tonight because tonight I am drinking, but in the morning you may question him at the guardhouse if you so wish. But if you determine that it was not him, or you suspect it was not him, you're going to need to bring me someone else before I release him, because just taking people and letting them out once we've announced that they've murdered somebody will generally destabilise what is already a pretty rocky situation. You have made my job here very difficult. Very difficult indeed. And he
Maybe you
pulls...
should ensure that the boy is guilty before charging him.
I agree with the...
Then your job won't be as difficult.
And he sighs, and at this he pulls out what looks like a really large cigar, and he puts his boots up on a chair, and then gets his arm and lights his cigar with his arm, like sends a jet of fire across. And you hear Danica shout out, "Isaac! I've told you not to do that in here!" And you look down and there's like a scorch mark, and he's clearly been doing this while you've been away. Isaac's lost it a little bit. There's a scorch mark in the bar where he's clearly been lighting his cigars using his flaming arm.
Bash will use prestidigitation to put it back out. I'd rather you didn't.
The cigar or the arm?
Harleen would roll
I
her
can
eyes
suck out a small fire with
and
prestidigitation.
say,
And I put it out.
"This is
I'd rather
surely
you
nerving
didn't.
the head guard to act."
Say that again, sorry.
Harleen would turn to Isaac and, like, as he's lighting his cigar, she'd roll her eyes, turn to him, and say, "It seems you've gotten lazy at your job."
And what do you mean by that, sister?
Does not seem that you want justice, only someone to blame.
I have not got lazy at my job. I am doing my job the way it has always been done. Find someone responsible, publicly demonstrate the power that we have, move along.
Mr. Isaac, sir. 2 questions. When did this murder happen?
Vash wants to kill him. Vash wants to kill lots of people.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Sorry. Yeah.
When did the murder happen?
Well, yesterday I was heading down to the stockyard, and I saw the boy speaking with a Vistani at the stockyard. They are not allowed in the city walls itself. There's an encampment just outside of the west gate, and as I approached, the Vistani ran, and I chased them, and they got away. But during the chase, I tripped almost over the body of Yelena, murdered, struck down by a heavy object to the head.
Like a boss hoof?
Would you like to see the body?
That was my next question. Has the funeral happened or is the body dead?
Well, the funeral was going to happen, but when we went round to get a coffin for the funeral, nobody has seen the Henrik van Voort, the coffin shop owner, for several days.
Strange. That is quite odd, is it not?
I have some skills with woodcarver's tools. I could perhaps
What do we do with that?
service a
Like-
coffee later.
No,
Murdered and eaten.
no, he died at the hands of vampires and covenants.
No,
That's right.
I believe someone pushed him into a mob of zombies.
I think there were some
All I
vampires.
remember are the giant
That's
toads.
right.
There were giant toads
We made that
involved.
first.
And there was a
That's all I
decision.
remember.
There was a decision about taking him to Father Lucian to see whether Father Lucian could do something like revivify. You determined that clearly wasn't going to be possible, and so ate him with a giant toad.
There's worse ways to go.
Well, Mister, can we see the body tomorrow then? Is it nighttime right now?
It's late in the evening, and Isaac's clearly been drinking for a while.
Can we see the body in the morning, please?
If you want to see the body, you are welcome to see the body.
You're back with them.
If you are able to build a coffin, you are welcome to build a coffin. If you are able to do some prayer thing, maybe that would be appreciated. And if you want to, and if you want to question the boy, you may do so. But if you determine that it might not be him, you need to find me someone else.
So you would knowingly hang an innocent boy?
Yes.
Okay, just so I understand each other.
He just looks at you and goes, I do not believe we have met.
No, forgive me, I am God of the gods' will. I am passing through this way.
Upon hearing the hanging of an innocent boy, Vash will stood up, not excuse himself, and walked over to the bar. And he's going to talk to, I can't remember the name of it.
Unwin, yep.
You wouldn't happen to have a bath,
would you? Not in. There is a horse bath in the just outside in the stalls that we sometimes dunk the boys in.
I meant more for people.
Yes,
Sounds like a no.
That's what we use for people.
I'd like to message Cantrip to Vash and just say, what is the necessity of this strange man who's hanging children?
I can reply.
Message.
He is the head of the town government, and he seems to also be our friend Harley's.
She's attached to this guy.
Barely knows him, actually.
Oh, good. Good.
Whatever you're thinking, I've probably already thought it.
And with that, Isaac stands up and goes, well, if you are interested, tomorrow at the guardhouse. If not, so be it. And
Harley would turn to him and say, I will see you in the morning then.
fine. Did you find the werewolves?
We did.
Did you ask them?
Harley would just take a swig of her drink and ignore the question.
Charlie, very important question.
Yes.
Will come up a lot in the future. Hunter's Mark.
Yes.
Does a target know I've cast that on them?
Not generally.
Wonderful. I'm going to drop a Hunter's Mark as his extended.
Okay.
I'll just put a hand on the shoulder. Let you slip down tonight. Just let me know where he is for the next hour.
Yep. He leaves the bar and sort of weaves his way gradually into town and then seems to disappear. He doesn't go up the hill to the burgomaster's house. He goes into town and appears to go to a house somewhere in town and has stopped there.
I'd like to try to talk to Harleen, not necessarily immediately, but just at some point in the near.
Okay.
Some point in the next 30 or so minutes.
Okay. Harleen, the new blind Fergbulg dude wants to talk to you.
This man with the strange hand, you said he was your brother, did you?
Apparently so, she says, as she takes another big swig of her drink.
He has a strange sense of justice.
It seems he does. It seems there's a lot strange about him. Did you know that he kept dolls of me?
That's creepy.
Hundreds of them.
No offense, outside of the dog travel.
And I'm assuming Annabelle or
Antoinette. Oh, Antoinette's there, and she's there. She's almost. She actually, as you turn to look at her, looks like a doll. It's quite creepy because she definitely walked in, but currently is sitting like you've propped her on a chair at a children's picnic, and she's sort of
Vash will see that people are starting to be unsettled by her. And he'll come in, he'll put her arm over his shoulder, and he'll carry her upstairs to his room. They leave us in it.
It's like carrying a doll.
I'll even use my telekinetic mage hand to prop her up so it looks like she's walking with it.
Yeah, it looks like you're creepily walking up the stairs with a marionette doll.
So we'll put her in his room because that's really everybody knows creepy stuff in his room.
Gono will continue talking to Harleen.
Danica just watches you going up the stairs, like it just gets stranger and stranger, and I'm glad the boys are in bed.
Oh dear.
Glad the priest didn't see that.
I'm going to go break this Vistani out of their bonds tonight and tell them to go rejoin their camp. I hope that's not an issue with you.
So the boy is not Vistani. The boy was seen talking to some Vistani.
So
the
it's
boy
just
is a
random
Vallaki.
boy who's-
The boy is a Vallaki. He works at Stockyard. Yeah.
Okay. Is he the son of anyone? Or is he
Yeah, he's the adoptive son of Yelena, who's dead.
Oh, that's like triply. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go.
He is the guard, in inverted commas, of the
Okay,
Stockyard.
fine.
He's
Legit
the
like you're the nearest person.
he's the adopted son of Yelena.
Sorry, I'm gonna say
Was
something
seen
completely
talking to a Vistani who legged it as soon as they saw Isaac approaching.
different. Right. Sorry, with that understanding.
Sorry.
How attached are you to your brother?
At this point, Vash comes to step.
Is Rose, are you there at all?
Yeah, sorry, we
That's all good.
didn't catch that if you're talking to me.
Gono was asking, how attached are you to your brother?
To my brother.
Yes.
That is yet to be decided.
Oh, good.
It is a very new and strange situation I have found myself in.
It seems like it. He will not be hanging an innocent child.
If I could help it, no, he shall not be hanging an innocent child.
I'm glad we seem to be in agreement on this.
Okay.
We're about to long rest, aren't we?
Yep.
I worked that, and there's no point.
Okay. So you go to bed. Is Malachi manacled?
He is manacled.
Okay.
I might like watch and see what happens. If you're like, I'll ask you if you haven't shifted by the time I walk upstairs.
I don't think so.
I'll poke my head
I'd
in.
be most interested to observe. Really.
Sure.
If you don't mind, at least for the initial change, I'm going to make sure he doesn't break out of these manacles.
I'm asking you.
I'm just warning you that I'm going to be casting magic in front of you. If you have an issue with or else trying to attack you.
Oh no, you couldn't.
So I immediately look at Malachi. I'm sorry, this, my friend. I cast Hex on him
Okay.
and I give him disadvantage on strength checks.
Okay.
Can I, Emma,
Yes.
if you allow me to,
Yes.
can I get like a map or something of Vallaki and try to work out where this house that what's his name has gone to?
Yes.
Using text?
Yes, you
I'd
can.
just like to take
Yep.
a note of where that is.
Yep. That's fine.
Or if I'd be able to find that again tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm
And you could. Yeah,
I'm
no
just going
problem.
to make sure Malachi can't break out of the manacles of the initial change.
That's fine. So,
This probably would have been strongest.
Malachi, roll Constitution saving throw.
Snap, he gets a snap.
Okay.
Let me know what you get on your dice. If it's less than a 7.
That is a 19.
Okay. And roll 2d6.
That will be a 9.
Would be
9.
okay. So take 9 off your maximum hit points.
That's a lot.
Ooh.
One of the spells I've got is Aid, so every morning I'll just be picking some people to get the 5 extra hit points. So
What you
I'll be on
see is Malachi. I would assume. How are you trying to
that. Aid is.
exert any kind of control over this? Is there a lot of Morning Lord praying going on? Yeah. Okay. So you see.
Attempting to sleep.
you see Vallaki unsuccessfully trying to sleep, riling against these silver manacles, screaming out to the Morning Lord. Clearly, doesn't break the manacles. Clearly, in a lot of pain. You see sort of black from where the silver is. Sort of black marks burning into his wrists and forearms. So you take the 9 necrotic damage and take that off your maximum hit points, but your strength goes up to 18.
So I take 9.
So you take 9 damage and off your maximum.
Yeah.
Go.
Yes.
So you mentioned earlier you knew where swamps were. And you swamp
And you don't sleep,
Yes, indeed.
but you don't yet take a level of exhaustion.
How far away from you is it?
Where rested?
How far away
You
is
are
the
long
swamp
rested.
that,
You can regain your spells.
How
Well,
far
I can
away
read all
is
the
Yes.
spells. Oh, okay, that's good.
Sorry, go on.
That's right. How far away is the bog that got in there?
So you know that there's an area of Barovia called Berez, which was a historical city, a fabulous, so a famed city, and that you have heard. You have heard from the Hunters Guild that the once great city of Berez fell into ruins and was largely consumed by a swamp that seemed to arise from the river Luna that runs through these parts. It is
Can I?
south and west of where you are at the moment.
A day's journey, week's journey.
It's probably a couple of days rather than anything else. Let me show you on the map where you are.
The city of
Yeah.
Perez.
I cast exposition.
Sounds like a dragon.
You cast exposition. Yeah, so you would know that Berez is this sort of ridiculously swampy area down here.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would be most willing to investigate that area anyway if you wanted to take a look. So after the rest of the party goes for a rest, Gotto's
Yep.
going to go downstairs and have a chat with Tavio.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know any particular say so. We don't need to run through that.
Yeah, that's fine. So you're chatting to Rictavio, and Rictavio has his feet upon a table, and he's talking, and he's gossiping a little bit about this problem, and that Yelena from the stockyard, because his wagon's at the stockyard, and it's terrible business that Elena getting murdered. She was a lovely lady. I've stored my wagon there for the whole time I've been in town. And who are you? Why are you here?
I am Goddo. I represent a consortium of hunters, and I've found myself relatively recently in Vallaki, relatively recently in Barovia, rather against choice.
As is the way. Are you here for anything in particular?
There were many who were thought to have gone to Barovia and not able to come back. The thought was to send a member of the guild to see if we could aid them in a way. It was perhaps not the most foresighted plan, as I am here and unable to go.
Are you hunting anything in particular? And he seems particularly interested in this as an option.
I was looking into the werewolf who was nearby, but apparently someone beat me to the hunt.
Werewolves.
Now seeking to re-aim.
Small fry werewolves in this particular neck of the woods. So not the same level of monster as you would find maybe outside of Barovia. You may be interested, if you're into monsters, of Silver Dragon. I believe there's one of those at the old ruined castle in Argynvost. And so, that may be something that you might be more interested in if you were going hunting.
Indeed. Would you? Are there rumours of its age or size or provenance?
Well, there's rumours that the knights of Argynvost still haunt the lands. Apparently, people see them every now and again, riding horseback.
Would you just roll your dice?
3.
Can I use my portent dice for that?
For what? What are you...
I was doing my prayer thing. My prayer.
No, that is very much you and the Morning Lord. And, well, the Morning Lord's really happy because you're sharing allegiance with Mother Night. But, shit happens, man. You're strong. You're all strong, so it's all good.
I'll definitely be taking down information.
Yeah, so he gets a map of Barovia and he marks on. Is there anywhere else that you would be potentially interested in visiting?
I've heard of the fallen city of Berez.
Oh, Berez. Berez.
We are in need of certain herbs that grow in that area.
Yeah. I can only think of maybe belladonna would be the only thing that commonly grows in the swamp, but it's interesting. And he marks the ruins of Berez. There's some interesting landmarks down there. There's one of those. There's some ruins, but some very tall standing stones down there as well in the swampland. Not really sure if there's any monsters around that part, but maybe.
Well, I would be grateful if you hear any others around. So,
Absolutely.
Certainly does. Have you yourself been around the supposed Silver Dragon?
Well, one might say that we were acquainted for a short time, and he sort of looks wistful and goes, "Oh, that's another story for another day." And he folds up the map and goes, "Oh, I guess that I will. You should have this. You can always give it back to me at some point."
Thank you very much. And I'll buy him a drink.
Okay, that's fine. When you look at the map, it's obviously a hand sketched map of Barovia, and there's some the windmill is on there, Lake Zarovich is on there. You see some other markings. You see the markings of the Zelenska Pass and 2 Amber Temple. With like a little skull and crossbones up there. There's a little drawn sort of abbey with weird question mark written underneath in this scrawled hand. There's a sort of a small circle in the middle of a mountain where it goes tower question mark there question mark not question mark and then signed at the bottom almost like a painting, like it's this is such an amazing treasure hunting map. It's signed RVR at the bottom. So you have a good night. You all have a long rest. You can pray. You can regain your spell slots, but you wake up feeling...
Can I still change my spells prepared as well? Yeah.
Yes. But you don't feel like you got any quality sleep. You are not exhausted at the present time. You feel strong. You don't feel quite as... you feel physically strong, but not quite as healthy as you did. You feel slightly sickly. There's like burn marks, black burn marks in your wrists where the manacles were. Come down for breakfast. What would you like to do with your day?
Super remote.
By the way, Emma, if
Yes.
it's all right with you,
Yes.
every morning,
Yes.
Worg casts Mage Armor on themselves. It's 8 hours without concentration.
Yes.
And I'm also going to be casting Aid on myself and 2 other people.
Yep.
I'll do Harleen and Jesse for now.
Okay. So 5.
Yeah, 5.
So 5 HP, Harleen.
+5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so that's 5. So that would be 5 to your. It's
I'm not proficient in it.
it's not temporary. It increases your maximum and it's healable and lasts for 8 hours. So it increases your maximum and current, but it'll increase your maximum for 8 hours.
What's your hit points?
Yeah.
31.
Yeah, let's give you that benefit. You got 8 as well, so you can get 5. Increase your maximum 5.
Okay.
And you heal 5 as well.
Is that just for the day?
So
For 8 hours. Okay.
I'm gonna drop that every day.
Is your medicine check be better than Jason's?
No, I have no wisdom sword.
Yeah.
Plus the road medicine.
Okay. So where are you heading? Are you heading to try and view the body, or are you heading to
I guess we have to go
see the lad?
I think we have to see the guard.
Hollywood has to see the boy.
See the boy. Okay. So you're going to the guardhouse. Harley knows where the guardhouse is because you tailed Isaac there, playing cards. So you know exactly where it is.
We wouldn't be able to see the body without seeing his anyway.
Indeed. So you go see the boy first. Yeah?
Do you guys want me to come with you? Because there's a few things I
Well,
need to do.
me,
So.
I'll need
What do you need to do?
Well, first things first, I know it's not going to work. As a player, I know it's going to work, but Malachi's going to give it a go anyway. He's going to blow a 3rd level spell slot on Remove Curse to see if it works.
Gorgeous. Do you want me to top up your hit points, by the way? I've got the Self of Healing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
How many down are you?
I'm only down 7. I could just,
Sorry, Malachi's going to try and remove curse on himself.
Self
Yeah.
is charges.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, you get 7 back.
Perfect. That's good.
So is that your low full? So you
My low.
Yeah, they just because you didn't get
yeah, you didn't get your long rest hit point. That's fine.
So
You're going to try and remove curse?
Remove curse, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you do to try and remove this curse?
Good question. I think he's going to go into his spiritual book and find a prayer that, generally is about removing curses.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knows that it's very unlikely that this is going to work, but maybe he's thinking because it's so recent, it might work, and because it's like entropy is a curse of some sort, and possibly of dark nature. He'll pray to the Morning Lord and do this specific prayer about curse removal.
Okay.
To
Roll religion.
What's your dex?
That would be a 23.
Okay. With a 23, you feel that you've connected with the Morning Lord, and he says, no.
Okay. Then.
So that it wasn't that it was the Morning Lord not intervening. It didn't work.
Yeah. Okay. Then.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we go see? I reckon we should go see the body before we talk to the kid.
I agree.
But yeah, I agree.
I can
We'll swing
cast-
past the leather workers on the way past and say we
So
found
I
his
can
daughter.
cast,
Yep.
We've
so
freed her.
Fine.
we can work that very quickly. I mean,
Okay.
it doesn't sound like it is innocent, but I can work that very quickly.
Yeah, but
I'm
going
gonna
to
cast divination.
Okay.
Or one of his servants.
Okay. Are you doing that in the bar?
No, in the bedroom.
Okay. Just checking.
That's what I was saying. I need to do all this stuff before we go.
Oh, but before Malachi does all this, I come into the room and take the manacles off
Yeah, thank you.
and go.
Okay.
The way,
So-
I'm feeling kind of strong, but it wasn't a great rest, but I'm fine.
Dodo will come up and say, "You're looking strong," and tap you on the shoulder, and one of the tattoos on their hand just gets stuck on you for the day. Which is how all the spells work
Oh yeah, cool.
for aid. And then
What is this?
It's a benefit, a boon. It's the symbol of one of the gods, I think. That is true. It's probably your.
I'll do my thing.
It looks vaguely
It's
vague.
something to make you feel a little more healthy.
Don't like it, but I'll take it.
Okay.
Stop it for this one later. That looks like
Okay, so go on then. What are you going to try and do?
I'm going to try to contact the Morning Lord or one of my servants with this ritual, offering something with fire.
Okay.
Something that I don't know what I'd have, but it says 25 gold or something. Can I just like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Very thin.
Okay.
So 25 minus. And I will ask him
Yep.
or whoever I can contact.
Shh. Sorry. Go on.
Should I risk my life to try to get rid of this lycanthropy curse, or would it benefit the Morning Lord and his goals for me to try to control it?
When you're conducting this ritual, you feel this awful, searing pain in the back of your head, like splitting, crawling pain coming up the back of your head. And
What kind of pain is it? Is it like a fiery pain or an icy pain? Or...
it's like a deep crawling pain inside your skull, and you feel the syringe. You can feel it in your pack or in your pockets or in your pouch or wherever you're holding it. You can feel it really strongly, and you know that is the way of the Morning Lord, not lycanthropy.
Okay. That's confusing. Okay.
okay.
Yep.
It was that a good chat with the Morning Lord there. Sorry.
Just like confused and grumpy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Very well. Rash, are you interested in helping out with these things?
I can lend what services I have.
Falling.
I don't think he'll overly enjoy me treating my mind.
Okay. What was that?
I feel a fourth level, my only fourth
I
level
mean,
slot,
there are...
and one of my three third level slots for little to nothing.
Before breakfast. Before breakfast.
I will only
Okay.
push if I need it.
Okay, where are we heading?
We want to see the body.
To the
We go
body.
to the body.
Yes.
Okay.
I
So
only push.
Isaac told you last night, because there was no coffin maker, they have taken the body to the church. So the body is at the Church of St. Andrew.
We'll all go there. And
I want to prepare them to replace them.
Father Lucian.
we like him.
Yep, you do like Father Lucian.
Okay. Well,
I worry this is.
Well, he can do general repose then. I won't have to do that.
yeah, he might be able to do some good medicine stuff too.
Okay, so you head up to the Church of St. Andrew, and you get to the Church of St. Andrew, and Father Lucian is there. And as
And
seems,
do I have any problem crossing over the threshold like he does?
no,
Well, I don't think so, but
Are we going to the church?
yeah, that's where the body is.
I'll wait outside.
How long in theory would it take to make a coffin? That's like several hours, isn't it?
It depends whether or not you destroyed all of Henrik's coffin making stuff, because there was some like,
I've got proficiency in tinkerer's tools.
oh, you
as
could
well.
you could knock up a coffin pretty quickly. Yeah, it's stuff. I don't think you destroyed anything in the shop. If you can get in, you could probably make a coffin reasonably quickly. There was some half-finished coffins in there.
I might offer and ask people, are we happy to do that? It might be a good bit of goodwill if you actually rock up and move a coffin for a person rather than.
Okay. So you gonna split, or are you?
While they're doing that, I'll go duck over to the living
Oh yes, perhaps maybe the
Candle
offer.
or
Yes.
Okay.
there with the boss.
All right. So
Yes, that's probably not-
Vash,
not-
when you woke up in the morning, Antoinette continues to be just a Ino Funny Noblinsky doll, just wedged sort of.
And I'll
Against
say
the
out
wall.
loud, just in case there is any cognitive. Perhaps you should stay here for the day.
No response. But
Didn't
okay.
expect one.
Yeah, I'll probably ask.
Fine.
I'll probably ask actually what happened to that meeting.
The only way I can describe it is like the lights are on, but nobody's home.
Doesn't even look like the lights are on. It doesn't
The
even.
torches are lit, but there's no one.
Sorry.
There's no one present.
It doesn't even look like the torches are lit. Looks like a wooden doll, like a child's doll,
Perhaps
like the
whatever-
ones that Blinsky played with outside of the
Would
shop.
we imagine that it was
Whatever
different?
animated her has
I certainly didn't see the doll moving around.
temporarily
Quite
left.
well. No, it
No,
seemed very colourful.
She
No, not really.
she was moving around. She was talking.
If you say so.
Okay.
I think whatever animated her has maybe temporarily left.
Well,
Power in the
let's
morning
go
will banish it away.
see the
I
doll.
wouldn't go
Evil.
that far. I think she's maybe processing
All right.
the few hours of life she did possess.
Okay.
Tell me, small boy, why were you so keen to see this corpse?
And Vash will interject before Ethelby can even answer and go, well, you see, he's quite adept at making them.
Understandably,
The boy is not
seeking of the corpse is the area of concern.
probably
Morning,
to ascertain
morning,
how the woman died,
Right.
to whether the boy is capable of such murder.
Right.
Okay.
He does have particular talents in this area.
So, you're going to. Vash is going to the leather shop to update Scran on what's happened to his daughter and try and get some armour. Right.
Yeah, I'd like that on
Church.
Church.
Yes.
Everybody else going to the church to find the body?
How far? did
No,
anyone find out
Harley
where we can
going
find
straight to the
the
boy.
Harleen's going to the guardhouse to speak to the boy. Okay, fine. So we'll do the church first, and then we'll do Harleen is out at the guardhouse. Fine. So you go
Find
to
out if this kid's guilty or not first, and then we go straight for the bloody Belladonna and get this shit out of the way.
Once we ascertain the child's guilt, then
There is another option. Hang on. There is no other option. I do not end up taking that step.
okay. So you head down to the church. Yep.
Question logistically,
Yes.
because this would be hilarious. My familiar,
Yes.
could they go fly for several days, find Belladonna, and come back? Would that be a logistical thing? Like the spell will last that. It's just a question of, like, is that task overly complicated for a hawk to go do in and of itself? Because I can't control it after it gets. An occupational hazard.
Roll. Yes, you can send the hawk.
That's the question: is whether I'm going to be blinded for a few days for the hawk to then just come back and like, that was a fun vacation.
You think you can do it. You
Comes
think
back
you
with the
can
wrong
command
file.
the hawk.
Mhm.
What you don't know is whether or not the hawk can carry the belladonna without in some way accidentally making it, because it's a really nice bunch of berries.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
Getting
it
to
may be
carry
it may
poisonous berries on a several-day journey is not good. Mind you, if the hawk dies, it's a familiar. It's not the
So you can make the call. You think you could send it. You're not 100% sure whether it would successfully complete the task, but you would know if it ceased to
I mean,
be.
the other thing with that is that potentially this takes us a day to solve this murder, and then we start heading off. It's a 2-day journey anyway, and does a day make all that much difference?
You think you could send the hawk, scope it out, find out either way. If you find some, bring it back. If you don't, just come back. You could give that as a command, and that way you know from the map where to send. If you wanted to do that and be blind in the interim, you reckon you could do that by nightfall?
Just to make sure I'm not completely useless to the party, will that just be disadvantage on attacks?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I can send Samuel here, my hawk, to attempt to retrieve these for you.
Of course he's called Samuel. Of course he is.
Sammy B. Thanks.
Of course he is.
That would be a great thing.
You will, however, need to be my eyes. I've got a blindfold. cannot see a hawk since for them.
Very interesting. I would, be happy to do that. Happy to help as much as I can. As long as it gets
So
me
you point, I'll shoot.
off this as quickly as
I
possible.
will
Okay.
take Samuel
Over
and
there.
hold him in front and be right. We're going to a swamp. Going to Belladonna. Yes? Good.
Okay. Off he
That's
goes.
a terrible idea.
Off he goes
Absolutely.
in a direction.
So it's either that without me, he can go half the time.
Presumably. Depends how nice the DM is.
You think he could get there, get back before nightfall?
Oh,
you think he can do that?
Wonderful.
Whether or not he can successfully survive it, bring you belladonna and all that,
Yeah.
different question. But you think he could make it, otherwise.
Wonderful. I will do
Yeah.
that.
So it makes a sensible decision to do that.
Does he know what Belladonna looks like?
They have my intelligence, so yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't need to
And-
try to conjure up some kind of image of.
And telepathically,
I
you could live
if
with
that
the
will help, I will only 500 foot. So the problem is once it gets more than 500 foot away, it's just
Yeah, but you could show it what it looks like before it leaves.
Oh yeah.
I'll assume that
You'd be able to-
God,
I
I
spend
thought of
5
those
or
things.
10 minutes
That's
doing
fine.
all of that.
Training the
I
hawk.
can minor illusion up some belladonna.
Yep.
A minor illusion up.
Yeah.
You eat this. I minor up a little hawk eating the belladonna and then dying. Yes. You will die horribly.
Okay, so we've done some hawk. Okay, fine. We've done some hawk training. Okay, so you're at the church. Father Lucian is there. Father Lucian is Father Vallaki. Thank you so much for coming to visit you. How can we help you today? As usual, very very worried every time he sees you.
You can calm down a little. You've actually been doing really well lately.
Doing really well lately
Yes.
since I made you murder your nephew, but okay. That was the last
we would
time we
like
saw
to
him.
see the body of.
Oh, Yelena, poor
Yeah.
Yelena, lying here with no coffin. But yes, and he takes you down to the sort of the west transept of the church. It's where you had Victor before he escaped out the side door to the graveyard. It's
Right.
where the coffin normally lies during the funeral, and she's lying there with a sort of a sheet draped over the body, and he
I
goes,
take it you've done the necessary rituals and whatnot. Talking about general advice, basically, for the
Yeah.
morning war terms.
"Yes, I have done the standard the Morning Lord death rituals. I have not cleansed her with fire. I did not think that would be necessary."
No, that's not necessary. It's fine.
It's all right. The last
Just
time he
checking.
toasted his nephew, so he's just
Fine.
wondering whether that's now a thing. But no.
Good.
Okay.
Right, let's have a look at it.
Okay.
Mr. Malachi, sir.
Yes,
Can you tell how long the body's been dead for?
probably.
Medicine check.
Will you let me use silvery barbs to give advantage if I sit there having disadvantage on a check I'm not making?
Yes.
That's a 7.
Like I'm burning first line spells.
Father Lucian,
Great,
can
you
you
can have
do
it from.
better?
Oh, actually, I don't need to do that.
You know,
Oh,
what you should be
roll
doing
with
is
7.
You rolled an 18.
Oh, okay.
14. I thought you could play it off and go, oh, Father Lucian, it's time for you to get the experience.
So you looked, and you looked, and you
No, I
looked.
think rolling a 2 on the dice, I probably thought I knew exactly what it was, and I'm just totally wrong.
You looked, and you're like, not really sure. And then this weird, again, in the back of your mind, like literally in the back of your skull, this weird sensation, this voice be like, 2 days, idiot.
Oh, no.
And it was Cardinal Juris' voice going,
Not very
2
precise.
days.
It was at 7:28 on the 13th of March. Very
It's
specific.
been dead for 2 days.
So you would put time of death round about probably just after you left
Yeah.
town.
So long before Izzy tripped over.
Yeah, well, within a day probably. Yeah,
Right.
of Isaac falling over her. You've been gone 2 days.
And can we sense the cause?
Can we see any ways? Can you see if there's any like marks on the body? like,
With
force
your
trauma?
18 and feeling that your
18 plus modifier. So
Yeah.
feeling that your mind is literally being controlled by the Moino. It's a very odd, slightly unnerving sensation. You lift her head and find a giant hole, a sort of imprint, big depressed fracture where she's been clearly hit by something heavy. You would say this looks like a hammer blow.
I'll have a look at the rest of the body to make sure there's
It
nothing
looks
else.
too punched out in terms of sort of centrally punched to be something like a stick. It could be a rock. But it's something with a lot of weight. So either it would be a rock that was thrown at speed, very accurately, or it's been something that's been hit, like a hammer. Would be your guess.
Been taken out by something like Harley.
Yeah, Harleen's not there.
Neither is that.
Yeah.
That's avoid the church.
No. I don't.
And looking, there appears to be no real injuries anywhere else. There's no there's no defensive wounds on her hands. It looks like there's some scrapes on her knees where it looks like she's gone down. And she's got this blow to the back of the head.
Can I, or you let me attempt to work out what sort of weapon has made that blow? Whether we're talking about a war hammer, a light hammer, or like a hammer that you use as a tool?
Yeah.
Is that within any means to identify?
Probably straight investigation, really.
Investigation?
Yeah.
Cool. My investigation too much. That's a 19.
You actually recognize this sort of imprint really very accurately because you have one. This looks like a craft hammer, like you would have that you go maybe build a tinkering tools.
Would this be the sort of thing that like a labourer would have just in a shed? Is this like a fine sort of tool?
No, this would be more the sort of hammer you might find in a smithy or woodworking or leatherworking, that sort of thing.
Well, this was no weapon.
You don't think it's like
I will
Harleen's
take out
Warhammer?
my Tinkerer's kit.
Yep.
And line up and go, that's been done by some.
Yeah, so it's slightly bigger than your Tinkerer's hammer, but nowhere near as big as, say, a war hammer or a weaponry hammer. So this would be the kind of hammer that you would find knocking studs into studded leather armour or doing fine work in a smithy.
Father Lucian, what was her relationship like with her husband?
Well, Gunther, they came regularly to the church. They have lived in Vallaki all their life. They adopted Toad, the young man. He has lived there all of his life. They are good people. Maybe you should speak to Gunther if you want to know whether.
Gunther, who works with wood making whatever he makes. I don't know, I'm smelling domestic violence here.
Gunther runs the stockyard. Yeah, they run the stockyard. Okay, so while you're there, Harleen, you've got to the guardhouse and Isaac's there.
Yep.
Standing outside the guardhouse. He's got really bad breath and is smoking a cigar. Doesn't look like he's had a shower since yesterday. He's got that sort of 3 days of unshaved stubble. He looks way less put together than when you saw him before you left town.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of looks like his sort of world's falling apart around the seams a little bit.
As Harley kind of approaches him, she kind of just chuckles and shakes her head slightly, as if to say, "Is this really my brother? Because he should seriously take better care of himself." Good morning, Isaac.
Good morning, sister. Have you come to see Toad, the guilty party?
I have come to see the child, yes. Although I will not call him guilty until there has been proof.
Well, that is fine. If you and your friends determine that you have decided he is in some way innocent, I will step him down from the hanging that is arranged for tomorrow morning. If you bring me the means, the motive, and the opportunity of the person that you are suggesting I free him for.
Okay, so hang on.
So Harleen's there.
Like Vash is
Harleen's there.
So, as Ryan, not as Vash.
Yeah.
So now he wants evidence.
Yeah, now he wants evidence. So
Yeah.
as far as he's
You'll be
concerned,
Now.
right, he's got somebody who was definitely near enough there at the right kind of time, and he's got him, and he could just hang him, nobody would ask any questions. And if you're going to make it difficult, then you need means, motive, opportunity, name, weapon, everything. Bring me the evidence. Bring me the evidence, and I'll free your child.
I think, Harleen, can we get, given what we now know, seeing the body, are you able to wait for us to meet you so we can talk to him together?
Well,
She doesn't know you found the weapon.
I don't know. You guys went to the body. I got up and
Oh, did you
went
just
to
slip away
see the
unnoticed?
boy before anyone else.
Yeah, she got
saw
there
me.
first. Yep. So
I skipped breakfast and everything.
that's fine. So
In that case, you don't have aid cast on you because I need to do it on touch range.
In that case, what?
you haven't got aid because if you slipped away before breakfast, it's a touch spell.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
So do you want to so Isaac pushes open the door and you walk into the guardhouse and there's this young boy sitting there sort of in a cell. Doesn't look like he's been beaten or badly treated. Looks about 15 years old.
Warlock's the
Okay. Harley would turn to Izzet and say, I believe you should go and clean up, brother, and I will come seek you once I'm finished here.
Isaac snorts, sort of derising, fine, whatever, and walks out.
Also, and I will slowly approach the boy in the room.
Okay.
Did we get the name of the boy?
Yeah, it's called Toad, as in like a frog, but more of a
Yeah.
toad.
Good morning, Toads. I hope the guards haven't mistreated you.
No. They've been okay, but I'm stuck in here, miss, and I don't really like it.
So how old is Toad?
About 14.
Harley would get down kind of on his level, introduce herself. Well, my name is Harlan and I'm here to help you.
Okay. Nice to meet you, miss. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too, although under very unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a bit more about your mother's death?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was talking to a man who wanted to rent some space at the yard, and he asked me who else rented here and if I was the guard, and I told him that there was a shed that was free and some horse stalls. I love the horses. I take care of them. I maybe don't guard the gate as well as maybe I should do, but I love the horses. And Isaac showed up and he yelled at the man, and the man ran off, and Isaac started chasing him, and then he was chasing him, and then he stops. Isaac stops, stumbles, and then he shouts, and he's found my mother behind a wood pile. He nearly tripped over her legs, and someone's killed her. And I love her. She was my mum. And you've got to believe me, I'd never hurt her. Never.
I kind of reach in to kind of bring him into a hug and say, I do believe you. That's why I'm here.
Okay. Are you going to help me?
I will, and my friends will help you as well. Don't worry, we will get you out of this.
Okay, all right. That would be good. That would be good, 'cause she was like my mom and everything. And it wasn't me. It wasn't me, and it wasn't me. And now I'm stuck in here. And
When was the last time you saw your mother alive?
I saw her that morning. And
And was she acting normally and acting like herself?
yeah, I think so.
Okay. And she didn't have any visitors or anything that day?
No, I don't think so. I was like looking after the horses and like sometimes doing guarding on the gate and like things. So, but I didn't see anyone come visit the house.
Can you describe this man who was inquiring about renting?
Yeah, he was like tall and he had like a hat and he had like a silk scarf and you actually I don't, he didn't tell me his name. You roll insight.
19.
You've also seen somebody with a sort of hat and a big sort of cloak and a sort of flamboyant sort of neck scarf. He turned up while you were toad eating the coffin makers.
Oh, we had to get rid of him, didn't we? Yeah.
So some guy turned up. There was something about some gold, and there was some stuff, and maybe about bones and an artifact and a ritual.
By the skull.
And he wanted to buy the.
Nothing?
And you remember. So somebody of that description, you remember when you went to the coffin maker's shop, turned up in the middle of the killing spree, looking for necessary self-defense / killing spree. That you remember somebody of that description turning up, and they were from the Vistani camp just outside of town. And Henrik had said that he could provide them with this special artifact that would be good for some of the local customs and for burying their dead. And he'd brought in some bodies for Henrik that he had found of travellers that they had found outside the town for Henrik to give proper burial to. And he'd bought them, so he'd bought in those bodies that the Vistani found outside of town, so that Henrik could build them coffins and take them for a proper burial. Yeah.
And is he still alive as far as we're aware?
So you didn't kill him? No, you let him go.
No. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you let him go. You got rid of him. He did a runner. Or he left. You possibly should have killed him, but you didn't. You killed the coffin maker.
We didn't kill the coffin maker. Vampires did.
Vampires died because of our actions.
Okay, I'll turn to the boy with kind of like a smile, like a little smile on my face, going, I believe I know this man.
Oh yeah, he wanted to just like to look at renting some space in the stockyard. He got a horse that he wanted to rent. I like horses. He wanted somewhere to keep it.
Okay. Well, I need you to promise me to be good for the guards, and I will be back as soon as I can.
Okay. All right, miss. Okay.
And I'll get up, and as I'm leaving, I'll turn to the guards, and I'll say, if anyone lays a finger on him, you're dead. Obviously, intimidating them.
Okay, roll an intimidation check.
That's an actual 19 plus so 21.
Scary bitch.
They go, all right, miss, all right, put your hammer away, all right. You know, nobody's gonna kill him other than Isaac. You know, more than my job's worth to kill him before Isaac gets to hang him. Won't look good that for the police, would it? If not murdered in custody.
If for the police to hang an innocent child.
Well, I think that's about keeping the peace, miss. It's been rather unsettled here of late. But that's a different matter for the head of the guard. We're not going to touch him because that would be more than our job's worth to do that, miss.
Good.
Okay.
And Harley would just
Walks
walk
out.
and try and find the group.
Okay. Vash, you're at Scran's Leather and Hides.
Between fits of laughter for this side of the table, yes.
Okay. So the shop's open. You walk in, and there's that wonderful sort of smell of tanned leather, and you two are tanned leather, and Scran is behind the counter and looks up and goes, "Oh, you return. How are you doing? How are you?"
I'm feeling rather fantastic this morning, to be honest.
Can I retcon something super quickly?
Yeah. Sorry.
Queenie, before she left, had that locket that the mother of the werewolf gave her.
Yeah.
She definitely would have left that behind, a deeply personal heirloom from someone else.
Yeah, no, it's with the
I'm
staff.
assuming that would have
Yeah.
made its way to.
It was hanging on the staff.
Cool.
Yep.
So,
That's
Bash-
where Quinny would keep it.
Bash would have got it back.
Yep.
And he'd hand the locket back and go, I found your daughter, she's alive and well.
And the mother sits down and just bursts into tears and goes, "Oh, thank you. What had happened? Why did they not come down like normal at spring?"
It seems there was a little bit of a, as a friend would put it, coup d'etat that happened up there. Someone took over the werewolf pack.
Kirill,
Yes, that is his name.
he's been causing trouble within the pack for
And-
many years.
Uncharacteristically, in front of people he doesn't know very well, Bash will smile. He won't be bothering anyone anymore.
That's fabulous news. Fabulous news. Scran. Get them the reward. They deserve it so much.
The local Worg are trying to free him there as well.
Okay.
He was imprisoned further away.
But Zuleika as well.
She is very shaken.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We will send word to her if it is now safe to do so. And Scram comes down, and he brings down this beautiful studded leather armor. It's absolutely beautiful. The craftsmanship's exquisite. It's not ornate, it's quite plain, but it's beautifully made, absolutely gorgeous. It's in sort of it's in the sort of blacks and greys of sort of tanned wolf pelt and leather, so it's almost like suede on the inside of this leather. It's absolutely beautiful.
So Bash, with full sincerity.
Oh my.
Full sincerity. With full sincerity and amazement. You made this.
Well, yes.
This craftsmanship is
I was
exquisite.
21 AC with that thing. That's incredible.
You're not getting it. No.
I don't really need it.
I'm not getting it.
It's just a very
I'm not getting it for Holly.
It's only useful given
Harley can have it later. I'm currently a werewolf. I'm a werewolf.
It's only useful if you have a high dex stones. Because it's 16 plus your AC becomes your 16 plus your dex becomes your AC.
And 16.
That brings.
So you've got a plus 1 to dex.
So
So it would be
Harley brings up the
I'd still be 3 above what my AC is now.
So
just get
so he gives you this piece of. He's like, it will always fit. It will always fit.
And Bash will activate his Eldritch Sight.
It's beautiful. This is +2 studded leather armor.
Why the craftsman?
I try.
I can assure you This is the finest piece of leatherwork I have ever seen.
My daughter is precious to me, as I'm sure anyone can understand. Many thanks for removing Corel.
As a child of devoted parents, I understand.
And he goes, thank you. I'm going to send word to her if she is now able to communicate. That is wonderful news.
You'll hear from her soon.
Thank you.
And then I'll say my polite goodbyes and head straight to my house.
Okay.
Because
So
I
is
know
your
that's what Halloween is.
Yep. So as you're coming out, they're coming down from the church. So you all end up outside the guardhouse where Harleen's just coming out, and you guys are all just arriving, and you've got a beautiful tissue paper wrapped in a kind of Gucci bag. Apart from it isn't. It's wrapped up in paper. It's is like sort of beautiful piece of craftsmanship, just like sort of, oh yeah, I'll just like wrap it up in this like old bit of paper that I found under the thing and handed it over. It's quite odd.
Fish and chips.
Yeah, it's the fish and chips, but of leather armour. And you meet Harleen outside, so you all meet up outside of the guardhouse.
Okay.
Marlene, how was the boy?
The boy is very troubled, as one would expect after losing his mother so suddenly.
A good sign, probably.
You wouldn't be upset if you
Sorry.
felt yourself.
He described a man who I vaguely remember seeing when we came into town
Does she give
from
us
the
this?
Bastani camp.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we run into him in the casket maker shop. I remember him.
Correct.
He was after the skull.
We need to hunt him down. I
Long
have some
story.
very important questions for him. And Harleen has like a very
There's more
serious
to it.
look on her face. Like she is very not happy that her brother is not doing the job.
Okay. I guess my question is, has anybody got anything else before you leave the guardhouse that you want to ask the boy?
I'd like to talk to Isaac.
I'd like
Okay. Isaac is there. So Harleen told him to go for a wash and to sort himself out. What you actually see is that he's across the other side of the square, sort of leaning up against the wall of the Blackwater Tavern, which is on the same square as Blinsky's shop, down the road from...
Do I know if that's where he went last night?
no, it's not where he went last night. Where he went last night, you would have been able to identify as you were walking through town, was a small row of cottages that sits behind, on the road behind the Blackwater Tavern. And there's like a row of houses down there, and he was in one of those houses.
Probably get the road to check that out later.
Okay.
But I will go talk. I want to get within 60 feet of him.
Yep.
If he doesn't notice, I won't try to hide him like skulking around, but if I can just get within 60 feet, I want to use my hunter sense ability.
Yep.
Does he have any damage, immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities? And if he does, I know.
Okay.
I'm walking up with him because I have to.
Because you can't see. Yeah. So you can't actually see that he's there.
We'd all be trailing.
I'm gonna go, guys.
Okay, so Etherdwe goes in to talk to the boy, and you two
I'll
go,
back in with
and
Ethelfree.
and Harleen goes back in with Etherdwe. Okay,
Sure that the boy knows that Ethelfree is safe.
okay.
After that.
Let me just see. Oh god. You know when you just update something, it's like, why has it updated all my...
Problem is, if we just break them out, he's a resident of the town. I thought they were
Sorry.
starting to just break them out and let them go away. They
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah.
They need to be looked after and all that.
So say that again. What information are you going to try and detect?
Damage stuff, immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities when it comes to
No immunity, resistance, or vulnerability.
Well, that was a great use of my features. I
Okay.
get that twice a day. Does
He's just beefy.
good to know.
And he,
He's beefy.
well, you knew that already.
I didn't know that already. I would also like to chuck on him.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just learning Ranger stuff really quickly.
Yep.
No. This one here. Now we hit him with an attack for that to go in. Cool. Sorry, that's actually all I can do.
Okay. Ethelred, what do you want to ask this boy?
I'm gonna first go in and is he chained up or in the stocks or anything like that?
No, he's in a cell, but he's just sitting on the floor. He's not chained. He's not restrained in the cell. He's just sitting there.
I'm just gonna sit out next to him and pull out my bag with lollies and stuff that I share with the other kids and say, hey,
You still got lollies left. Wow. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I have a lot. I think I always buy more. I'm not short of coin.
Okay, that's valid. Yeah.
Instead of spending
Thousands of gold
and I don't
pieces on
and
this
it's being
child.
10, I don't spend it on wine, women and song, I spend it on sweets and
You'd have absolutely loved the werewolf den had you been there because it was absolute chock block full of treasure, but they didn't go hunting for that. But anyway.
No, I look for treasure.
Toad.
Yeah.
I just wanted to I'm Harleen's friend.
Uh-huh.
Ethel Weed.
Nice. Thank you for the lollies.
Well, listen, I've been there myself,
Sounds like
where you are stuck in a
I've
cell.
been stuck there before.
But unlike you, I was probably guilty.
Oh. You killed your mother?
No, just old stuff.
Okay.
I don't. But listen, I'm sorry that. Did you just say that you killed your mother?
No,
No.
that's what I've been accused of.
Yes, it doesn't seem likely. Seem like a nice lad. Can I ask something about your mother and father? What was it? Was it always nice between them, or was there sometimes?
No, it was. They were always lovely. They looked after me since I was as long as I can remember. They've always been good to me. Nobody would want to hurt Mum.
Dad never yelled at Mum or angry or raised voices?
No, don't be silly.
Okay. So, how do you think how is your dad at the moment? Have you seen him?
I've not seen him. Isaac brought me here.
He hasn't come to visit you?
Not yet. And he starts to look really sad, like that's just struck him as being quite sad.
Upsetting.
Deeply upsetting.
Oh, your dad
Quite
won't come to
profoundly
see you.
awful.
You get the feeling that, Toad's not like the brightest bulb in the Vallaki box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's disappointing that he hasn't come to visit you.
I don't know who would want to hurt my mum.
Yes.
We
Harleen
will get to
mentioned.
the bottom of it.
Yeah, we'll have to get to the bottom of it. But
Alright.
you never heard your mum be upset or anxious with anyone?
No, she didn't have no enemies, my mum. She used to make really nice beet soup. Everybody liked it. People would come sometimes when they came to get their stuff out of the stockyard, maybe have some. Yeah, she was popular, my mum. Until she was dead.
What about your dad's tool shed? Did it have some quality?
Power owner hammer.
Did you have some quality tools in there that I won't steal?
Where are the family jewels?
Any
Well,
any safes, and what's the combination?
I've not seen him really have no tools. Mainly he was just in charge. He'd collect the rent and stuff from the people who rented space at the stockyard and things. And he was just in charge, like a caretaker. He didn't do much handiwork or stuff like that. He'd get people in if stuff like that needed doing.
Who did the
Is
who
this
did the
him
handiwork?
talking about his dad?
Yeah.
Who did the carpentry work on the stocks?
On the stocks?
The fences.
Oh, in the stockyard.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I would do that, and if it was really they were falling over, I got a big mallet and I whack them in with a big mallet, and do that and get them all lined up nice and neat. It would stop the horses getting out.
A big clumsy mallet. Not a
Well,
precise, accurate, refined mallet.
He just looks at you like you're mad. It's like, have you ever been and seen somebody put up a fence?
Does it look like it? Look at my hands. There's not a callus mark.
You need this like big, it's like a big wooden mallet. And he's like this. It's like this. There's this big, and yeah. Oh, I like that, ladies, but mine's wood. And I use it for knocking in the post to stop the horses getting out.
Yeah. What about for more precise work in the stuff? Anyone? No one. If you need specialized repairs, who would you get?
If we needed like specialized things, we'd probably call down a Koenig, maybe, you know, from the blacksmiths. He'd come down sometimes. He was and Horick, he works up there, but he's mean. I don't like him. He calls me Tadpole. He's horrible.
Have they been recently?
Oh, they all come. There's lots of them. They all come and go. All the people who have stuff at the stockyard, they come and they go. The only one who's not been recently is old Henrik. You know, from the coffin maker shop. I used to help him carry his stuff sometimes to the shop. He gets his wood delivered, and we'd carry it up to the shop. Sometimes he would give me like a copper piece if I helped him. But I've not seen him for a while. But otherwise, I've seen them all pretty regular.
Okay.
So it looks like we have a fairly large list of potential suspects.
Do you think Henrik killed my mum?
No. You said you hadn't seen him recently, so we'd have to go and see.
I've not seen him recently. That's right. I've not. I don't know why I've not seen him recently. You'd think that he would be in some of the time because, like, he must be running out of wood to make his coffins. Maybe nobody's died recently, apart from my mum.
And half the town guard. And Burgomaster.
Harleen would turn to Etheldy and say, well, it seems like we have a list of where to start. Shall we go?
Did we ask him about the Rastani guy?
Yeah.
So he told Harleen, so in terms of people on your list that he's mentioned so far, you've got Vistani guy that he was talking to and chatting to, who ran off when Isaac arrived. So he was running off, having been talking to the boy at the time they found the body. Hard to tell what the time relationship there might have been. You've heard about Horick, who's mean and calls him Tadpole. And Horick works at the smithy. You've met Horick, so he's not the nice blacksmith. He's the nasty guy who works in the shop.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
That's all the night.
Who's the guy you tried to haggle with?
Yeah, he's the guy who, yeah, that's exactly who he is. He's the guy you tried to haggle with.
It's the other smithy, who's the one who sold the iron filings to Queen.
Yeah, what was his name?
Jonathan?
So if you ask him, he'll tell you all the people who
please.
are there.
Or
Okay.
just post them in the group.
All of the people, yeah. So he gives you so he's like, well, okay, so at the moment, and he kind of, it's almost like he's like drawing it in his head about who's where. There's the circus man, Rick Tavio, his wagon's at the stockyard. He's very nice, and sometimes he sings me songs and tells me stories, but his wagon growls and shakes. So he's there. There's the two hunters, Vengi and Zoldar. They hunt wolves, usually for the festival, but they're mean, and sometimes they throw rocks at me. They're nasty. Then there's Henrik. He works at the coffin shop, and he's nice, but I've not seen him for ages, and he must be running out of wood. Then there's Koenig, and he brings me candy and lets me ride his horses, and he's nice. And then there's Ernst. You've met Ernst very vaguely in passing. He was leaving Fiona Watcher's house as you were coming in. So and she was like, oh, this was Ernst. So you met Ernst very briefly. He is always meeting people. He like has people to his shed all the time, and he moves barrels in and out, all times of the day and night he does. And then there's Horik, who's mean and calls me tadpole, and I'm not a tadpole. That's mean. And then there's Scran. He works at the leather shop in town. He gave me a leather pouch, and he told me I needed to keep my eye out for bad people and let my parents know if I see bad people. And Mr. Martikov from the Blue Water Inn, he helps me. I help him load up all his barrels into his wagon, and he gives me a copper piece every time I help him, and I keep them in. And I keep them in the pouch that Mr. Scran gave me.
Yeah, he's a strong person.
I will. I will post that in the chat.
I'm trying to write it and I gave up halfway.
That's fine. I will. So there is.
There's no way.
I think we should go talk to
Oh, no, it's CoS Strahd. I think it's
trust
more
him.
likely to be someone who trusts.
I trust him too.
I wouldn't be surprised if the book just
But I
says,
wanna
whichever
talk to
NPC
him
the
about-
players trust
he
the
gives
most
us
murdered
money.
this woman for no reason. Just to fuck with them.
Okay.
Good.
So I'm going
I
to.
hope that happens.
So we will-
Personal life.
Is there anybody who wants to ask our young friend anything before you
Yes.
go on?
I'd like to cast Zone of Truth
Okay.
on the kid.
Okay, I'll point you in the direction.
They can make a save against that if they want to, which is a DC 13. They know if they fail.
He doesn't try to save.
Wonderful.
I've put the whole list in with all the things he says about
thank you
them.
very
Not
much.
thoughts about this.
So,
Yeah.
is there anything you haven't told us about what you saw and what happened?
No.
Did you kill or otherwise harm the mother?
He just looks at you utterly horrified and devastated and goes, I told you no.
But did you? I know what you told us, but did you?
Of course not. She was my mom. And he starts to cry.
No, babe, don't cry. No, really, don't cry.
This
Mess
is
up
very,
the roots.
very sympathetic, aren't you?
Exceedingly.
Unfortunately,
I'll just
I
give
don't
him
have
some-
one of those lovely calming of emotions.
I'll give him some more sweets.
And I'm assuming none of
the
those
new
things.
member of the party a kind of death stare, kind of look of how dare you make the child cry.
Just trying to make for certain we know that the child wasn't involved.
Listen, I think we should go talk to your dad, and I'll ask him if he can come and see you.
Okay. He's probably just like busy because if I'm not there, there'll be no one to feed all the horses and to guard the gate and you know and cook the beet soup now. Mum's dead. But yeah, he'll be in his house. It's like at the entrance to the stockyard just out town. His house is there. It's like, you know, where you'd go if you wanted to rent some space. It's pretty obvious.
Very well then, thank you.
But it would be nice if you wanted to come and visit.
You will be okay. We'll make sure of it.
Yeah.
You've been such a brave boy today.
Yeah.
I will be back to see you later.
Yeah.
Considering all the work you do, you seem to be quite strong.
I'm pretty strong. They say I'm pretty strong. That's why I'm not a tadpole. Because they're not strong. But, you know, I'm pretty strong. I can lift barrels. And I can hammer in fence posts. That's all right. But, yeah. Mr. Isaac said he's going to hang me.
He won't.
I will not allow that to happen.
Okay.
Mr. Isaac says a lot of things.
Okay.
We'll see how many of them are true, shall we?
Mr. Izzy seems to have lost his way a little.
Okay. He didn't look lost. He knew where he was going. He brought me straight here. He didn't get lost at all. But
I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
yeah, he just brought me straight here. Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't have done that.
Okay. It would be nice if I didn't have to hang. That would be nice.
You're okay.
Okay. And
Starting to tempt Vallaki.
He's innocent.
all right, I will leave you to puzzle that out then. Until
I'm assuming
next
none of
time.
those things that said were lies.
Pardon?
I'm assuming none of that was a lie.
No. He has told you no lies. And
Don't go burn a second level spell.
and yeah, he said no lies, and you can quite happily have with your zone of truth that he goes through that long list of people who are mean to him, people who rent rooms at the who rent space at the stockyard, people who come and go. All of that is he's sort of completely guileless, couldn't work out, he'd be the sort of person who told the police everything without getting a lawyer, because the police would absolutely take you seriously and not in any way miscarry justice at any point. So why would you need a lawyer? He's in that vein of
He's a big guy, so he's fine.
he's in that vein of naive young person.
He's a child.
He's a child.
He's a child who's been told to listen to the town guard, and there's been a lot of misjustice in this town, apparently.